I think we can go ahead and start without the city attorney, because to get this first stuff out of the way. Tonight, we got a special person to do an invocation for us. His name is Mr. Amos Jackson. He's a senior at American Heritage High School, lives here in Boynton. And if Mr. Jackson would like to come forward, we'd love to have your invocation. It'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag. And please stand.
Bow your heads, please. Creator and sustainer of all that is or will ever be, accept our thanks for this day and all its blessings. We ask that you guide and direct this city, its leaders, and our actions. Grant that each of them may feel the responsibility to the citizens of Boynton Beach and to this country. I pray that we also are mindful of the opportunities to render this service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let them continue the great history and traditions of Boynton Beach. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Jackson, I just want to say that how pleased I am that a young man like you would take the time out of your day to come and offer an invocation at a city commission meeting. It says a lot about your commitment to this community. Thank you. We'll go to the adoption of the agenda. I have a couple of changes on the agenda. First of all, item D under announcements, which is a proclamation. The proclamation is for an event in March, so I'd like to pull that off of this agenda and bring it back on the March agenda to read that proclamation.
So moved.
Also, the last item on the agenda, item let me see, G, is staff is requesting that item be tabled until March 2nd. Is the commission okay with that? Yeah, it's item G. It's about the Quantum Park Overlay Independent District, and staff is requesting the item be tabled to March 2nd. There's a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I have some other items that we need to pull.
Well, is there a second for this one?
So moved. Second.
I'm on second. All in favor?
Aye.
So the motion unanimous. Okay, and also, go ahead, Commissioner McCray.
Oh, Commissioner Merker is going to pull. Go ahead.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to pull item 6B.
Okay.
I'd like to pull item 6G.
B. Okay. 6G. Okay.
Mayor, I have one item. There's a revised agenda cover sheet on 13E, which I'll pass down to the commission at this time.
Okay. Is that something added to the agenda?
No, it's on the agenda. To the cover
just
sheet's
information?
revised. The ordinance
Okay.
is not changed.
Okay. Anything else to the agenda that wants to be changed or different? Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So move.
Second.
And motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? So the motion is unanimous. So anybody that was here for the quantum overlay thing, that's been tabled till March 2nd, so you don't have to stay if you don't want. Okay. That takes us to informational item by member of the City Commission. I'll start with Commissioner McCray.
Mayor, thank you. I'm good for tonight.
Okay. Commissioner Merker?
I pass.
Commissioner Vice Mayor Casello?
I've this past couple of weeks, I've met with Mr. James Comparato. I've met with Mr. Martin Perry, and I also attended the Barrier Park ribbon cutting for the handicap equipment down there for the elderly. And If you haven't seen this yet, it's quite a thing. I forget, I think there's 17 pieces of equipment, and it's for our senior citizens, people who are physically impaired. It's special type of equipment set up in a special area in a barrier-free park, and I would encourage you to go down, visit it, take a look at it. Maybe you know somebody that could really use it well. So, thank you.
I would just add, it's not just senior citizens, it's for all citizens.
Right.
It's a fit zone where you can go get fit. There's 17 state-of-the-art pieces of equipment that you would find like in a gymnasium. So if you don't want to pay a fee to belong to a gymnasium, you can go to the city park and work out every day. It's just fabulous equipment. We cut the ribbon on it Saturday. It's beautiful. 17 different things that you can work on. 5 of them are wheelchair accessible, which is fantastic. And would love to have you come down over there. It's just another addition to the barrier-free park, and we're very proud of it.
Mayor,
Yes.
continue. I'd also like to ask this commission for, we recently took a vote on the Casa Del Mar project, and it was defeated. I would like to have reconsideration on that vote. Along with this reconsideration, I'm hoping that the developer and the neighbors have another bite at the apple here to try to get this right, bring it towards us, before us. We can have another vote on it, and hopefully that we'll have harmony in that neighborhood with a good development. That's what this is all about. It's about moving Boynton forward. It's not, anti-development or anti-neighborhoods. We're going to see more and more of this as development comes here in Boynton Beach, and we all got to try to work side by each here and make this happen. So I've asked for this reconsideration. I've been in contact with Martin Perry, who's the representative for the developer, and I've been talking to some of the residents in the neighborhood. There's pros and cons on this, but hopefully that will come to a resolution and
So
satisfy it.
you're making a motion to reconsider the Casa Del Mar project.
Second.
And I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Yes.
2 things. Number 1, I also had the opportunity to speak to Mr. James Camperato. Number 2, regarding the Casa Del Mar, Vice Commissioner Casello makes it sound so simple. We're very lucky we didn't get sued. We're lucky that Havanian was willing or thinking of changing his thoughts. That's the bottom line. What was going to be was a worthwhile project bringing in taxes for this city. The idea that they are able and willing to be flexible, I thank my lucky stars that this city potentially was not sued by our foolishness on how we voted.
Well, I don't want to get into this because we're going to bring it back at the next commission meeting to reconsider it, but we're not, there's no way we could have been sued. We had the right to zone or not zone those properties like we wish, so that's a false statement.
That's not a false statement.
I disagree, but that's okay.
Of course. It's
Okay,
logical and common
Commissioner
sense.
Fitzpatrick?
February 5th, I went to the FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation and Metropolitan Planning Organization conference at the Delray Old School Gymnasium for about 4 hours. It was kind of like imaging for the future transportation needs of South Florida. And then later that evening, I went to the town hall meeting for Bridges to Success. And I'd just like to say on a side note, Mark George was there, and since I keep seeing him at all the right good things, I just kind of thought I should stop being mad at him, so we kind of made up. And then February 6th, I went to the opening of the Kinetic Arts Symposium, and February 7th, I went to the historic Boynton Women's Club Gala, and February 10th was the CRA meeting. Also, on February 10th was a Palm Beach County American Society of Civil Engineer lunch meeting, and which was, you ordered hoagies. They're not very, whatever. Kim Delaney, who's senior planner at Treasure Coast Regional Planning, was the featured speaker. She talked about Jupiter plans for downtown redevelopment. February 11th was I had a meeting with the developer Comparado, and I went to the League of Cities District Luncheon. Also in the afternoon, I went with Jeff Livergood to the FDOT District 4 headquarters in Fort Lauderdale to Talak to Lisa Dijkstra, who is a head professional engineer down there, where we talked for an hour about I-95 interchange projects in Boynton Beach. It's going to be like a 7 or 8 year project, and they're in the first phase. So I think at a later time I'd like to give more information to the City Commission. And then on the interchanges. And then February 14th, I went to the Barrier Free Run. I arrived there at 7:45, ready for an 8 a.m. start, and found out it was at 7:30. So I started running, and I used to be able to run a lot, so I looked pretty good because the other guys were coming in, but after about a quarter mile, I realized I was going to have to stop pretty soon, so I was looking for a way out. And then walking towards me, I saw my salvations, Costello and Mayor Taylor, so I cut across and said, "Hi, guys, how's it going?" And we walked back together, so that's all.
Thank you.
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor,
McRae.
thank you. For point of clarification, we had a motion and a second on the floor. I don't know if we voted on it.
There was no
it's
vote.
out-
No vote, I'm sorry.
Okay.
There was a motion and a vote to reconsider Casa Del Mar project. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Show the motion passes 4-1.
Mayor, that will be on the next commission meeting. An appropriate notice will be given to interested parties. If the commission desires something other than the next meeting, you need a separate motion to reset it.
It's fine with me. Next meeting,
Okay.
March 2nd.
Look, March 2nd,
Yeah.
that's...
It's a couple
yeah,
of weeks.
we should have
Couple
enough.
weeks.
That
Yeah,
should be
that's
enough
fine.
time.
We have a meeting.
That's fine.
Thank you. Staff will get the word out.
Okay, I will just, my only comment is last Thursday, city manager, finance director, planning and zoning representatives, and myself went down to Miami to meet with a Plaza Development Company, and we just briefed them on our town square ideas and what we're trying to do here in Boynton Beach. And they seem to have a lot of interest, and right now it's just at the talking stage, and they're just one company. But so we're just putting all that out there, and just want to keep you updated as we go along that, you know, it's not just something, we are working and looking, trying to make something happen in this downtown area. So that's that. I think that's all I just will announce, several people, I can't remember all their names and stuff, have either talked to me or called me about the Lake Ida project land that we're going to be talking about later tonight. Just want to let them know that people have commented and talked to me about it. That's all I have. We'll go to announcements and community events and presentations. The first one is the first City Commission meeting in March will be held on Monday, March 2nd, to accommodate the City Commission who will be attending the Palm Beach County Days in Tallahassee. So this first meeting in March will be on a Monday instead of a Tuesday, March 2nd. Item B is consider areas of study for the Financial Advisory Committee FAC for the upcoming year. And what we have is that Financial Advisory Committee, and if in your backup you see that they had another board member resign. I don't know if the chair is here that wants to speak to this. Okay.
Good evening, City Commissioners. My name is Stephen Grant. Was at Northeast 3rd Avenue, Boynton Beach. We had, I think it was 10 items for you to review to approve for the Financial Advisory Committee. However, after 5 years, there are currently only 3 members of the Financial Advisory Committee, and either you would have to change the legislation to reduce the numbers from 9 members to 7 members. Otherwise, we do not have a quorum to hold any more meetings. And
I've been looking at this, and let me give you my thoughts on it, Steve. You and a couple of members that are left, have been very involved and really committed your time and efforts, and I really compliment you on that. A lot of the recommendations you make concern budget items and things like that. And after looking at it, I feel there's a lot of duplication of effort there because the staff goes through a lot of that already. what that committee would be studying. So it does kind of take up more staff time. If we get another person, you need 4 members to even have a meeting. See, if we got to point one, it would be next month sometime, and then you'd have to have a meeting. You're talking probably April before you could really figure out what you're going to even be thinking, talking about to come back. In the meantime, we're already budgeting and got most of the stuff taken care of. My suggestion, like again, I really appreciate what you've done. I would like to keep you 3 members involved in the city. So I would recommend that we do away with the FAC committee and get you people into some other boards here where you can really participate. So you're not just standing there with your thumbs in the air the whole time, never having a meeting. So my recommendation to the board would be to dissolve this committee and go from there. Any comments?
I'd like to hear from Steve. How do you feel about that?
I've been my term is up in June. This is my 3rd year, and it's been very interesting learning about the city. I feel that we've done as much as that we could with our resources. We were kind of a little upset regarding the vacant lots that we reviewed that was just given to the CRA, and but we live in Boynton Beach, and we look forward to providing our services to the city in the future. So thank you, Mayor Taylor.
You're welcome.
May I say
You've done a
something?
lot.
Yes.
You've done a lot. Yes.
For the record, you know or you don't know, this March there's an opening on the CRA board, and it's something maybe you should consider.
Okay,
putting
thank
your
you very
resume
much.
in.
Would the board like to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion on your recommendation that the FAC board be dissolved.
Is there
I'll
a
second.
second? A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Show the motion is unanimous.
All
Thank
right,
you
thank
again.
you. Thank you so
Fanta- I
much.
hope you put in
So-
for
so
some
we
other
were able
board.
to save the city
We
some
don't want to
money,
lose you.
so.
We don't want to lose you. You do great work.
You guys,
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, this next one is the Boynton Beach Police Department will host the 2015 South Florida K-9 competition on Saturday, March 7th, 2015 at Boynton Beach High School, 4975 Park Ridge Boulevard. The event runs from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's the South Florida K-9 competition. They bring K-9 dogs from all over the county here, and they compete. And Boynton has always stood out really good. And I'll tell you, if you haven't been to one yet, you need to go because you don't believe what you're missing. These dogs are incredible, and to watch them when they turn them loose, and they watch them come. And when they get through the air, they knock a grown man over. It's unbelievable to watch the demonstration they put on and all the things they put them through. It's a really fantastic. So don't miss it. March 7th, 2 to 8. Yeah.
I get more enjoyment watching the trainers trying to keep up with the dogs.
Right. Yep. Okay. Next, we're going to go to public audience. People who want to speak to the board on items not on the agenda may do so at this time. We ask you to give your name and address for the record and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Dan Spots, 805 North Federal Highway, Boynton Beach. Last week I presented to the CRA what I thought were useful suggestions to improve both the operating efficiency and the reputation of the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. As part of that discussion, I mistakenly confused current CRA Director Vivian Brooks with an enthusiastic, mature woman having silver or blonde wavy hair that I first met in September of 2004, who was introduced to me at the time as a CRA receptionist and assistant to then Director Lisa Bright. This person encouraged me to move my business to downtown Boynton rather than Lake Worth or Delray. Over the years, I assumed that person I met was Vivian Brooks. But in fact, Mrs. Brooks did not start at the CRA under Lisa Bright until March of 2005, several months later. I regret the public error, and I want to publicly apologize for calling Mrs. Brooks a one-time receptionist. However, it does not change my underlying concerns or suggestions that might have become lost in the discussion of who was or was not a receptionist. 1, the CRA should immediately adopt open and transparent policies for handling odd behavior or sexual harassment within the workplace. The most important recommendation the woman just made, and you've ignored it in your rush to censor Mr. Merker. It is worth It is a waste of time and money for the CRA board to hire its own lawyer to pursue a so-called independent investigation when it has already publicly announced that it wants to remove Commissioner Merker from office or force him to resign over what is a trivial matter. Only the governor can do that. Let him investigate if you wish. The CRA board needs to be an independent body from the city commission so that it can avoid this continued appearance of being just a springboard for political favors or attacks. This position was reinforced Tuesday night by surprise public comments of Board Member Fitzpatrick complaining that fellow Commissioner McCray was not participating in a quid pro quo exchange of votes on pet projects. Although I am sure Director Brooks has done her best, from where I sit, the progress of the Boynton CRA under her leadership has been an expensive disaster, especially compared to Delray or other communities. The award-winning Little House sits empty, abandoned, and for sale, no doubt at a huge loss. The expensive fake lighthouse at the marina blocks the view of the marina from the street and takes away parking spaces. It has been no obvious benefit to the existing businesses in the area, with about half of the spaces at Ocean Walk, Marina Village, and East Ocean now vacant, half of Las Ventanas, all of Casa Costa vacant. Mrs. Brooks supports spending over $4 million more to help build the 500 Ocean project because she says there's a shortage of available retail space downtown. Most importantly, Mrs. Brooks' new master plan fails to address the threat of all aboard Florida.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Harry Woodworth. I live at 685 Northeast 15th Place. I'm the president of the Inca Art Association. I've been coming up here at every meeting offering a few words. I'd like to just thank the commission. I've had several follow-ups specifically from Lori on some of the issues we brought forth here. Also, Jeff Livergood has followed up. There's actions going forward on the bus stop that's being moved in front of the plaza. Thank you very much, Mayor, for linking us up with that. That's all moving forward. The CRA's, everybody's on board. The only thing I would like to mention is just to bring this stuff back up again, is we still don't have a schedule for when AT&T and Comcast are going to take their wires off those poles that FP&L removed a year ago. I mean, how long does it take to do something that simple? They got the grass mowed at AmeriGas. The place is still an eyesore, obviously. I just wondered if there's anything we can do to keep some of this stuff. The bus stops obviously are in process. The poles are in process. The AmeriGas stuff is in. But all of that stuff we got to keep somewhere because it's low-hanging fruit. It's easy to get done if people just keep following up. So I'd like to thank you guys for following up, but I'd like to make sure it stays on the radar screen because North Federal could look a lot better with very little effort on the parts of Comcast, AT&T, and some of those outfits. That's just ridiculous to take those poles down. I guess I have a couple seconds. I'd like to just mention for those that saw the Palm Beach Post article and all the other communities that are going to have their poles replaced with concrete poles, they too can look forward to looking for the wooden poles next to the concrete poles for over a year or so because they're going to have the same problem. This is just absurd. And I mean, there must be some connections that we all could exercise to make that silliness stop. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, as Mark Harry George come forward, you know, it's probably an oversight on our part, but anyway, I did attend the Kinetics Art Symposium, and Deputy Mayor, I do want to tell you thank you for a job well done. I'm just saying, you know, we probably did not say it, but an excellent job. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. Mark Harris, 248 Main Boulevard. Couple things. With the dissolving of the FAC, I do want, hopefully this year, a budget workshop. Instead of the past 5 years where we've talked about pension reform, it would be nice if we had some pension reform. Because if we don't address this, each year the unfunded liability increases and it becomes a severe problem for our city. If you want to see a formula that works, take a look at Ohio, contact the governor's office. They've done an excellent job with pension reform in Ohio. In addition to that, we talk about Town Square and meeting with Plaza, and that's great. They're a great organization and we have high hopes. But if I'm not mistaken, we still have litigation on the old high school that's been going on forever. That needs to be put to bed and solved and resolved one way or another so that we can move forward as a city with Town Square. We've invested $58,000 on the Treasure Coast study. We need to get this litigation behind us so that we can move positively forward. It's gone on too long. It needs to be resolved. When the litigation continues and continues, the only people that benefit are the attorneys. The citizens and this city suffer. Now, we need to move forward with Town Square, and we have to get that litigation out of the way. And I want to commend Debbie and her Arts Commission and everything on the great job that they did with Kinetic Art. I want to tell you that I respect each and every one of you and the work that you do for our city. The time and effort that you put in is tremendous, and it is appreciated. Many times people don't acknowledge that. I just want to say I appreciate everything that you do. Thank you.
Mark, under legal F, it refers to, and it will talk about pensions. Okay.
Mr. Carrier, just for the record, future agenda items, you might have seen or might not. Update from Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council on options for Town Square project slated for 3/2/15.
I understand that,
Great.
but to do anything substantive, you've got to get the lawsuit out of the way.
Good evening. Suzanne Ross, Schoolhouse Children's Museum. As an update, February has been a very busy month at the museum, beginning with our participation in the Kinetic Art Symposium on February 6th, 7th, and 8th. During the weekend, kinetic artist Alexander Dong conducted 4 workshops where participants made solar butterflies. This very popular activity resulted in approximately 100 solar butterflies being created, some of which can be seen at the museum on the front doors and the windows at the museum. Regretfully, we do have to take them down, and we do have to return them to the artist. However, in the meantime, you are welcome to come and visit the museum and see these beautiful pieces of art created by the children. In addition to the solar butterfly project, approximately 1,500 guests tour the museum over the course of the weekend, providing tremendous exposure for the museum. We have 3 more exciting events that are coming up at the museum, starting this weekend with the Legal Aid Society and the JCC of Boynton Beach. Both are participating and partnering with us and having their own events at the museum, bringing hundreds of people not only to the museum but to the Ocean Avenue corridor. Finally, the Schoolhouse Reunion Bash is scheduled for February 28th. Bringing together the community, for former Boynton Beach school students and teachers, museum supporters for an exciting event in support of the museum. During the day, we will have free old-time games and activities such as hula hoop contest, hopscotch, spirograph art, and not-so-old-time food trucks. This will take place from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m., and in the evening, please join Channel 5's weekend anchor and reporter Tanya Rogers and honorary chairs Nain and Curtis Weaver for the reception, including music, fabulous food, libations, and silent auction items, including such things as Disney World tickets, Kennedy Space Center tickets, golf outings, stays at Caribbean resorts, a baseball autographed by the Marlins player Greg Dobbs, and more. Tickets are on sale at the museum and online. We hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ray Whiteley. Now live at 5503, which is Star Lane, Green Acres, Florida. I am representing the Boynton Beach Coalition of Clergy, and we want to extend a warm and cordial invitation to attend our next Unity in Prayer for the city of Boynton Beach at the City Hall. We meet first Tuesdays right outside at 5:45. We pray for the officials, the police department, and pretty much anyone that have anything to do with the forward progress of our city. So that's the first thing. The second thing, we would like to also thank the CRA and the city for reaching out to us to have conversations about moving the city forward. We are looking forward to really talking and sharing our thoughts with you. And finally, I do want to speak out. We're concerned about purchasing a park, and we have 32 other parks in Boynton Beach that would need improvement. So we're concerned about that. We are praying that God's wisdom, patience, and tolerance will be upon the dais. Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
Evening. My name is Howard Williams, 230 Northeast 16th Avenue, Boynton Beach. I live in this community for the past 32 years, basically my whole existence on this earth. I've seen this community grow to probably one of the best communities in Palm Beach County. And I want to see that process going. By purchasing a new park would be useless, while we have other parks, for example, East Hester and other parks in our surrounding areas that needs major.
Mr. Wells, that's on the agenda, so you need to come up and speak at that time for that.
Oh, no, that time? Okay. With that being said, in District 1, I would like to see, or District 2, I would like to see more improvement in our community as far as police presence in our community, and more road improvements, definitely on Northeast 16th Avenue. As far as for me, every night I'm hearing cars going up and down my street like this is like International Speedway. So
Northeast 6th?
Northeast 16th Avenue.
16th, okay.
16th Avenue. I got 145.6, okay. So more presence in the community with police officers, at least some speed bumps on my street, and more improvements in the park.
Thank you, sir. In regards to speed bumps, I'm just saying we have to just check into that. But in regards to like the emergency vehicles, sometimes we cannot do it. But the city manager and also the chief of police, they heard what you just said, and they'll get back with you. I represent you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone in their respective places. Minister Bernard Wright, 713 Northwest 2nd Street. I first like to commend Ms. Anthony, the Sun Senator, and the Palm Beach folks for two great articles about the Robert Wells Day proclamation. On February the 7th, we did have a celebration. Unfortunately, not one city commissioner, no one city official attended, even gave a honorable nod. However, we fed the community from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., and it was our first historic event since the upcoming and the revelation of Robert Wells and his accomplishments in this town. And they were great accomplishments. In fact, should be written, they will be. But we ask that this city commission next year, and we're preparing now for a greater event, that someone do attend that February 7th proclamation day of Robert E. Wells. We would appreciate it so very much. And on the 26th, that's next Thursday, we're having a follow-up at Carolyn Sims Center of a historic presentation. We would appreciate if anyone of this commission will attend. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Mr. Mayor, let me just say something in regards to that. So in regards to your proclamation, I'm just saying usually we was invited, but I didn't receive an invitation. I don't know if any of the other board members received an invitation. I did not. I didn't know what was going on. When I passed through, I looked, I said, well, I thought y'all was having a selling. I'm sorry.
Probably the greatest event they had in 30 years there on that corner, but at any rate.
I can't say that.
But I can't. At any rate, to God be the glory. I called the mayor, I called Chief Katz, and I told them on their answering machine that I was given, we was having something on the private property of Bell, at that restaurant up there, Robertson. Then I got a delegate call me, tell me about all the permits I needed, and I could not possibly be able to give a celebration by that Saturday, which I thought was ridiculous. A proclamation of Robert E. Wells Day, and not even the city ever gave me a call. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brother Victor Norfus. I live at 261 North Palm Drive, Boynton Beach, Florida, District 2. I'm coming up here. I've spoken on this issue before, and it deals with the CRA and the events that you're having or put on and the location that you're having. Since we have lost that last mayor, Rodriguez, he was the one that instituted, and that commission instituted, that all CRA events will be held on Ocean Avenue, other than the fireworks, which can't be held on Ocean Avenue, are held in the park off of the Intercoastal. At one time, as Minister Bernard Wright spoke, at one time there were events that were held in District 2 in the heart of Boynton. That was the Heritage Celebration. And as many of you may know or may not know, before that it was called Black Awareness Day during Black History Month. And the CRA, under the guidance of the Commission and also Commissioner Mac McCray, took over the event. They did it for a couple of years. They moved it out of the area and they moved it down here to where you guys decreed that all events by the CRA has to be held on Ocean Avenue. And then they killed it. Okay, we've been having this thing since 1980, and then once it turned over to the CRA, they moved it out of the community, and then they killed it. And every time I bring this up to them, they state, well, it's just a party. Every event that the CRA puts on is a celebration. You can call it a party, you can call it a celebration, you can call it the arts in the park, you can call it music in the park, whatever you want to call it, it's a celebration. The people in the community, and this has happened because of Robert Wells Day when we had the celebration down there, and yes, Commissioner McCray, we did have a very good celebration. It was not the largest. I should have turned that off. It was not the largest event, but it was a wonderful event. We gave away a lot of food. We gave away a lot of information. But the thing that we got back was they wanted to have a celebration in the heart of Boynton. They wanted to have some type of celebration. I myself want to have a celebration also on Gateway and the heart of Boynton. You have about 24 to 26 different celebrations that the CRA puts on. They're all held on Ocean Parkway. That should be dismissed along with the Mayor Rodriguez, dismissed as well. Because once he was removed, the policies that he put in place are still in effect. Sometimes you have to think out of the box. Okay, we've been doing this for years and years only down there because we built that new amphitheater. But that is not the only place the CRA supports. That is not the only community that the CRA should support. They should support local activities, and that is part of the CRA thing. So I'm asking that you have some events, whether it's in Sarah Sims, whether it's in Carolyn Sims, whether it's on Martin Luther King Boulevard, whether it's in CRA property on Martin Luther King Boulevard. We need to have something in the heart of Boynton for the citizens, and that's what they're requesting.
Thank you.
I'd like to respond to you. I concur. I think a day that you and your board and members should create a Black History Day, since February is Black History Month. And going along with, I've just learned, since I was not involved then, you had this day before, I would encourage you to do it again and do it around the basis of history. And the reason I say that, it's a learning curve. Young people, Afro-American people, Caucasian people, Asian people, it's like going to school to learn history. We don't know the history. So if you want to have this type of day centered around the point of learning about Afro-American history in America.
Definitely we will do that, and we're looking forward to your support. And also the other commissioners and the mayor, too.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd just like to say, you know, and the city manager, I'm just saying you could probably send in some literature on this, but we have had events over at Carolyn Sims Park. I'm just saying, you know, and I just can't sit up here and be like we have not done anything. We have done some things. I'm just saying as far as Black history and down here and everything, I'm just saying we have the Heritage Park over there, and Mr. Harry Meeks was supposed to get with Mrs. Annie Mae Miller name was supposed to be placed over there. So there's some things that has been going on, but I'm just saying, but by the leadership, they was the one that dropped the ball, not this commission. I'm just saying, so if you could probably check with Mr. Meeks and find out what is going on. I'm just saying, because we requested that Mrs. Miller name be placed on the Heritage Park Memorial.
Okay, but you guys missed the part about the CRA events. That's a private event. That's something else. But what I'm stating is the CRA has multiple events, and that's what I'm saying is one of the CRA events. Thank you.
Good evening, Stephen Grant, Northeast 3rd Avenue. Just a couple things. I also live in the heart of Boynton, and there was a CR event that was a Bark in the Park that was well attended, and I enjoyed that. However, the District 2 needs trash pickup. The CRA vacant lands on I think 5th Avenue, 6th Avenue, and Martin Luther King 10th Avenue. It's just ridiculous how the city spent $300,000 to maintenance for the city, and nothing is done with those lands. And then the other thing is I was walking my dog on Boynton Beach Boulevard, and people aren't stopping on the stop signs. I've been almost run over 3 or 4 times, and so that was to Chief Katz over there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Herb Suss, 1711 Woodfern Drive. I wasn't going to come here tonight, but I have some deep problems, but hopefully they work out, but that's beside the point. A lot of reasons I'm here. I want to applaud Woodrow Hay for what he said at the CRA meeting. I support what he said and should even go further. And I support what you said, Mayor. Mayor, I'm going to tell you right now, I want you to run next year. You have no choice. If I don't want you, I'll vote you out, but I want you in. I want you to run. I'll back you. I'll do whatever I can, because under your leadership for your 3rd time, the city has prospered. We disagree on minor things, but that's the way it is. If I want you out, I'll vote against you, but I won't. I want to make sure that you run, and you let me know, and I'll be one of the first to donate a small amount to your campaign. And you're going to run because I'll be on your tail. Okay? I hope you run. God bless.
Thank you.
That's number 1. Number 2, I've been appointed to represent the city at the CAC. That's the Climate Action Coalition for the county. And I'm meeting with some very bright people monthly on sea level rise and climate change. I've done a lot of research. I got a book full of it. And I think the newspapers, the Sun Sentinel and the Post, ought to listen and get in and write more about climate change. Let me read you just what I researched yesterday. Climate change is hampering world food production, scientists say. Food production will have to be doubled over the next 35 years to feed a global population of 9 billion. 9 billion. And people in 2015 compared with 7 billion over the last few years. Volatility increases. Drought is rising. Temperatures will affect crops yield. This is by Ken Kunkel. He's a climatologist at the U.S. National Oceanic Administration. In the country's central grain region, the area is likely to see a worse drought hit than in the 21st century than in the last millennium. Poses a threat to region's inhabitants. Found also that we only have about 20 years, according to Dr. Ehrlich, president of the Center of Conservation Biology at Stanford University. These are bright people. I attend these meetings, and let me tell you, Iceland, my son was there 2 years ago. And the Iceland, and I got it right here in the notes, if the papers want to see me after the meeting, I'll tell them, is rising. Also,
You've got to wrap up.
Yeah, wrap up. I'd like to see things done in District 1 to move ahead what happened in that CRA meeting. I'm thoroughly disgusted. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will close public audience and move to administrative. We have one appointment tonight, one applicant for the Historic Resources Preservation Board. Board member, Vice Mayor Casello, you have an alternate appointment if you'd like to make it. The person is Cheryl Black.
I'd like to put Cheryl Black's name.
Is there a
forward.
second?
Second.
Most second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? For the motion unanimous. Good. We'll go to the consent agenda. There's been a couple items removed. First item removed was item B, proposed resolution number 15019, approve acceptance of Lake Ida deed from Palm Beach County.
Mayor, that's mine, please.
Want a motion first?
Yeah, let's get a motion and then we'll get discussed, okay?
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion. Correct me if I'm wrong on the way I phrase it. I'd like to make a motion not to accept the conveyance, or should I do it Is that the right way of doing it?
Motion should be stated in the affirmative regardless of how any member wishes to vote on it.
Okay, then I'd like to make the motion to accept the conveyance with the thoughts that I will be voting against it.
Is there a second?
Point of information, did he just move to
Moves
accept?
to accept it, yeah.
All right, second.
I have a most second. Any other discussion? Yeah, there's discussion. Go back to you, Commissioner. You want to comment? Discussion. Now we're open for discussion.
Okay, fine. I have been consistent on this, though I've been chastised by one of the former commissioners who doesn't realize that I've been the only one that's been consistent, whether or not you agree or disagree with me. I feel that many people have said it tonight, people have said it at other meetings. It's not that I'm against parks, but the part that I'm against is very simple. When you have 28, 30 parks and they're not being maintained the way they should, getting a good deal is a wonderful thing. But is it a good deal depending on what the cost will be for the future? I read carefully, and I won't go into it now, this so-called budget. The budget wasn't by our financial person, it was by Commissioner Mike Fitzpatrick. I see a lot of assumptions on question marks on who's donating money and who's not donating money. Like, for example, parking space, who's donating $50,000? The shoreline, who's donating 100? And I can go on and on with his list of supposedly money that's going to be raised. Money is not raised. If it's not in the bank, you don't got it. And the idea of a city wanting to buy another park for the sake of liking the color green and not being able to maintain it properly, let alone the other parks we have, personally, I'll use a simple word. It's absurd. It's not that I'm against parks. It's not I'm against flowers. It's not that I'm against a blue sky. But every dollar counts. There's issues. A gentleman stood up before over there, and he talked about the money being put into areas where people need the money, like in certain areas of District 2 or District 3. So, to stay consistent, I am against this idea of purchasing another park, and I'm hoping that the mindset of the other commissioners realize, like our vice mayor always talks about dollars and cents as he tries to be this financial wizard of dollars. The point is, if you don't have the money and you're wasting money, and how many cars do you need in the driveway, and how many, et cetera, et cetera. We have 28, 32 parks, whatever the number is. This is a waste of money, let alone the cost to maintain it. Plus, that the county, the people who run the county, Palm Beach County, voted originally against it. Our advisory board here in the city dealing with parks, when I sat down with them, advised against this. Politics is a strange thing. We do things that we not necessarily should do or want to do to make one side happy. This is an investment that we're not ready for, and the future, let's keep what we have and maintain what we have.
Would you like the board like to... We don't need that. I'm sure a lot of you are going to talk. If you're going to applaud, you're going to be here till midnight. So we don't need the applause. We just need the information. Okay? Thank you. Would the board like to hear from those who want to talk before you make your discussions and comments?
I would.
Okay.
I'd just like to ask Wally Major
Sure.
a couple questions, if I may. Tonight, the only thing we're the vote is on is to send it forward back to the county, asking for some time constraints. I think it was from 5 years to 10 years. We're not actually voting on the park tonight. We're just
Yeah, we're...
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Approve acceptance of the
Yes.
Lake Arda Park from Palm Beach County.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, the $100,000. Where would that come from?
As Wally Majors, Recreation and Parks Director, as I understand it, the discussion back at the workshops in July indicated that we were going to use the Park Impact Fee Fund.
Yes. And what is that fund? Can you explain that fund and what it only can be used for?
The fund is is created to be able to collect monies that are needed to either develop or improve parks as a result of residential development, whereby whenever we have a residential development project in the city, we collect an impact fee that's based on whether the project involves a single-family home, a townhouse, or an apartment. Those monies are collected, and then they're used based on the need to either develop a park within the area in which the monies was collected, or for improvements needed to a park. If nothing is needed within the area in which it's collected, it can be used for more regional improvements or development projects.
Can it be used to pay salaries?
No.
Can it be used to buy a fire truck?
No.
So it can only be earmarked for parks.
Park development, park planning, park improvements.
And purchasing parks.
Yes, sir.
Parkland, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
In your best estimate as Director of Parks, this would be a passive park for many years to come. What would be your best estimate of the total cost of maintenance?
Sir, without actually having been on the site, it would be highly speculative on my part.
You tell me at one time, we had a conversation on this, and I think you threw out the numbers of between $500 and $1,000 to me.
That certainly could be an educated guess, and to maintain it is in the state that it is now.
Right, that's the current state.
As a passive park, is that correct?
Right, in the condition it is now,
So,
based on the assumption I made on what the conditions are, yes.
so if the city was to acquire this parcel, which I think we all do agree it's a great deal, the total cost of us, which the money we can only earmark it, this park impact fee, to purchase parks. We can't pay salaries, we can't buy equipment, it's to purchase park land.
Correct.
And at best, even if it's $1,000, $2,000 a year, to maintain a passive park for a number of years until we get this all lined up with our greenways and blueways, would you say, in your opinion, that that would be a pretty good deal?
Keeping in mind, I'm the Parks and Recreation Director.
I kept that in mind.
Okay, and so from that standpoint, anytime we have an opportunity to acquire green space, I think that's a positive thing from the context that I'm in.
Thank you.
I have a comment. Excuse me, please. 3 months ago, you and I sat down in the chambers, and we spoke for an hour, hour and a half. And I purposely, because the county came down, who runs the county, and explicitly said they didn't want the park sold for that amount of money. So I asked to sit down with you. I'm not sure I'm hearing the same thing, because what I heard from you when we sat down for an hour and a half, that we had X amount of parks, they're not being maintained, and it's not the time to buy a park. Was I deaf?
Mayor.
Yes,
Mayor, if I
City
may.
Manager.
This isn't fair to Wally. This discussion.
Well, I heard a different answer, Lori.
in all,
Wait, let her speak.
I think you're at the level of a discussion right now that's very much a policy discussion, and I think it needs to remain up at the dais, Mayor. It puts staff in a very uncomfortable position. Whether we were to acquire the land or not, the commission did budget for it, and it is appropriated in the budget, and the funding has been made available. Now the decision is whether or not to go ahead and move forward with the deed. That's totally up to the commission. If we were to acquire the land as a park director, we will incorporate that into our system and do whatever the city commission sees fit for the development or not.
Yeah, but one question.
But I just don't want to, I don't think
I
it's fair.
understand what you're saying, but one of the reasons that though I was chastised earlier for wanting to sit down with people who supposedly know more than I, is to get an opinion. And when I get an opinion and it says A, and then I hear B, I believe I have a right to question. And I heard A, not B.
Okay. Somebody else want to talk before we listen to the public?
No, I like to listen to the public and then come back up
Okay,
here.
those in the public would like to address this. How many people want to speak to this? We have a lot, so I'm going to really be tough on the time. So
Well, let's
try to make your comments quick and succinct.
Yeah, I will be as quick as I can, but I want to let people know something, that there are a lot of people up on the dais that are a little bit too positive about this park. My name is Gary L. Fishman. I've lived in the wonderful city of Boynton Beach for 23 years at 3504 Diane Drive. I have spoken here in your chambers several times over the last 3 months and appreciate the opportunity once again. The issue is the same. The proposed park to the north of Lake Ida and the L30 Canal. My position on this as the acting president of the Diane Drive Neighborhood Association and the surrounding neighborhoods is not to purchase the land in question to turn them into a park. $100,000 may sound like a deal, but it's not. Not so quick. There are so many other expenses that will pop up unexpectedly along the known ones. Yearly expenses will continue to be a huge burden to the city and us taxpayers on the dais and in the audience here today for our children and our children's children. $100,000 is such a good deal, like the moon we visited a couple of times. How are you going to get there? The park plan to connect them all, Forest Hill Park, the Girl Scout Park, the proposed park, Lake Ida Park, and Calusa Park is wrought with high expenses, safety questions, rising crime, traffic, loitering, vagrancy, littering, potential drug haven, and more. Even if the land was for free, the Girl Scout Park was years ago in the 70s. It's not a good deal. There is no jewel for Boynton Beach, rather a piece of coal. We mean no disrespect or ill will to any of those disillusioned that the park is a good idea. Sadly, the pros and cons are way out of balance with this one. Sure, parks are very nice to have, but not, I repeat, not in the residential neighborhood area. We have lots and lots of parks right here in the area that are open. The city has many parks that sit dormant. Greenways, blueways, bikeways are important to have, but not running through a densely populated neighborhood. Not in this neighborhood. Our neighborhood is nice and quiet to a point. We still are not going to give up on the necessary sound barrier wall extensions to the north and south of Diane Drive that are badly needed. With this park, our neighbors will be in upheaval. I want to share a little story with some of you, and I want to have a little extra time. I had asked the mayor. They're trying to clog things up here so I can't speak. If you can give me another 5 minutes, that's all I ask.
Give me a couple more minutes.
Okay. I want to share a little story with you that some of you may be aware and some may not be aware of. Several years ago on the site of the old Grimes plant, BE Aerospace, the occupant of the land, wanted to expand, doubling their operation. We as a neighborhood and with the support of our city politely said, no, we don't want that, and we protested, and that we had the support of our city. We stand here before you and sit here before you, and hundreds who could not make it here today. All of the city hall would be filled to the rafters if we had all the people that could have been here today. BE Aerospace did not expand, and a few years later closed their operations here. We are pleased now that they're gone, and do not mind the land sitting vacant. If someday there would be luxury homes there, the majority of citizens and the city, who was almost unanimous a couple of years ago, totally in favor of the plans, with good-sized lots, would be pleased as well. We no way will be in favor of our neighborhoods to be invaded by this horrendous web of parks plan. Those on the dais and in the audience today need to keep their eyes open on this one. The golden rule here applies. Do unto others. Well, think about it. Our neighborhoods and I do not wish this bad idea of a park on anyone's place of domicile. No way. We never, ever are going to be convinced that the greenways, bikeways, blueways are good in an unsuspecting neighborhood. Yes, parks can be fun to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there. The same thing goes for us. What's a good idea for all people, not just some, needs to be definitely considered here. Put yourself in our shoes for a moment. Have you really done that? Have you? Come on, have you? We plead with you to vote no on this park idea tonight and make it final. When we voted for you and we trusted you, the best interest of all of us, we thought you really had in mind.
Sir,
now, one other quick thing.
No, we're going to cut you off now. That was it. I gave you extra time. I got all these people waiting.
But one quick thing.
I'm sorry.
I had one quick thing to say.
I'm sorry, sir.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick had a whole half an hour for his presentation.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I gave you extra time. I'm trying to be fair.
I want to thank you.
Okay.
But I want to say
we got your point. That I hope
that you understand.
I got your point. You're totally against it.
Thank you.
I got your point. You're totally against it.
Good afternoon, sirs.
Good afternoon.
My name is Like Kalra. I live at 3842 South Lake Drive, Boynton Beach, for 30 years. I've come in front of you a couple of times so that we don't have a park there. The main thing is I am the most affected by this. I own the land adjoining the park. And if you build a park... What are you doing?
We can't see the man that's speaking to us.
You'll have to keep it here. Okay, this is, you will see here...
Sir, you need to be back at the microphone.
You need to be at the microphone. We can't hear you. We need to record you on the microphone.
Please forgive me. You want me to point it? Yeah. No, that's okay.
We're very familiar with the area.
This is my property. You see here? And this is the proposed park. Now, if you see, this proposed park has no access.
I understand.
And everybody knows. I don't know why you are knowing that there's no access, still you want to buy a park and give a problem to this adjoining. What will happen? The city has already approved 22 lakefront homes here, which worth about $20 million, that can generate $500,000 every year to the tax collector. Now, if you buy the lot, the county has told you that you have to keep a 50 feet easement.
Go ahead, I'll give you another minute because you got destroyed on that movement there.
Okay. Here is a red one, a bikeway with the... here you can't have a bikeway in the residential area with like a jumbo there. And there used to be at this place, Chapel Hill area, the bicycle way, it has been removed. Why? It's not safe. And now here, if you make a wall, this $1 million lakefront house will go away. You will lose the $500,000 a year for the tax collector, as a tax collector. Now, you tell me, each of the two commissioners, Fitzpatrick and Scasello, told me $100,000, that area is a jewel, is a good buy. Now you tell me, is it, and I asked Fitzpatrick that day, if the county had given you for 500, will you buy it? He said, no, I will not buy it. Now you are gaining only $400,000, but how much you will be losing in the taxes every year? $500,000. Is it right? And why I as a citizen should suffer of the $1 million homes? I go down to half the price of it. Why I need to pay for your parking space here? Why I need to give you ease of this without any compensation? I don't need the compensation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And if you were in my shoes, sir, would you tell me what will you do?
Thank you.
Buchanan, 807 Ocean Inlet Drive. Basically, I'm in favor of this park, and for several reasons. Number one, it's part of the Blueways, Greenways plan, and I believe unless there's some compelling reason, you should stay with plans. You always have to make little variations and things like that, but I think because it's in the plan, I think it's a good plan. Now, I'm not envisioning anything there ever like evidently some of these people are envisioning. I'm envisioning that being a connecting part when that is actually completed, and you're talking about a bike path, walking path, hiking path, that type of small access through there. The finance I've already talked about. This money comes out of a fund that can't be used for anything but land acquisition and capital improvements. And certainly the price is good. And this is money. Now, if this were money that could be used to, say, improve North Federal Highway or MLK or something, I might be singing a different tune, but it's not. This is earmarked money. The third thing is access. The gentleman just talking about access. There's no access to it. Well, the development that he wants to put in there, he wants access across city land to get to the water for those homes. And I believe on the backside, on the turnpike side, that we could trade that for the right-of-way for, like I say, a bike path. I'm not talking this huge development. I don't even think a kayak entry point's that feasible for that. And so for those reasons, I think it's good to buy that land and land bank it. And if for some reason the whole thing blows up at some point, I believe then we can go to the county and say, look, this isn't going to work. Let's go ahead and sell it. We'll take our $100,000 back, and the county gets the rest, if that's the deal. So that's my reasons for being in favor of this park.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Denise Zupo, and I live at 3509 Diane Drive since 1992, almost 23 years. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the City Commission, residents of our city of Boynton Beach, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I don't come here often, but this is important to me. All my family appreciate all of you who serve on the City Commission for your honest and dedicated service to the citizens of Boynton Beach. It is evident we are growing. You have to make ethical, legal, and sound decisions every day for the benefit and the safety of the residents of Boynton Beach. I applaud those of you who strive towards that goal and do accomplish it. You know who you are. However, it is disconcerting and discouraging when some public servants get distracted and focus on their own agenda or on the agendas presented by other programs and other entities from outside of our city. I pray that you will realign your focus to the service of your office and your representation of our residents. This discussion of creating a park and bike trails through our neighborhood is very disturbing to me and my husband. We feel that we will lose the peaceful and safe community that have brought us here to this neighborhood. Having a bike trail pass through our neighborhood, geez, it will compromise the safety of our children, our families, our homes, and our properties, not to mention the property values that will be decreased. Unfortunately, our adult society often play pawns with our children's safety until alarms go off or after they become statistics. That is too late. Instead, our children and families would benefit from proactive planning for their safety, which should be primary, not secondary, to the decisions of the adult pleasures of our world and business dealings in our adult world. We do not want a park and bike trails opening up in our community, our neighborhood.
Thank you.
We enjoy the peaceful, safe neighborhood in which we live, and I'm not against green spaces. I am all for it, but in the right places.
Thank you. I need to let you go.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your service. We appreciate you. Charles Cantor, Kanter, 2905 South Greenleaf Circle, Boynton Beach, Florida. I got here from the Florida Keys. We moved up here because of business. It got to the point in the Keys were so crowded we couldn't make airplanes and stuff. And one day we're coming by the road. Thank you very much. And I saw an opportunity here in Boynton Beach as a young progressive city. Renaissance was just building. I says, boy, this is the kind of place I can relocate to. And I did. And I'm happy as can be, living in a wonderful community with a bunch of nice people and a great city commission. Now we have an opportunity that is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to buy a piece of property that will never be able to be replaced. This is waterfront property. This is an ideal place. Based on my experience on the waterway, I was a marine surveyor for many, many years. I'm a knowledgeable and published authority on the Intercoastal Waterway and a lot of other materials, and which is why that I came here. We can use that park just the way it is, as a destination for paddle boarders, for kayakers, etc., etc. This can be part of our public relations process to get young people here into Boynton. I would like to speak for my children, my grandchildren, and generations yet unborn. That's who we have to think about, not the people thinking in the past. Now, I understand Commissioner Merker completely, and he probably has a lot to say, which is correct, but he's not thinking about the future. It is the future that we need to think about. We need that piece of property, and we need it now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Greetings. Catherine Scantlin, 13 Cedar Circle, Boynton Beach, Florida. I want to echo and mirror Mr. Cantor's comments and others that are in support of the park. Not having the green space is like trying to unscrambling an egg. When you don't have it, you can't go back and get it. This is an opportunity that I don't think should be disregarded, and I think it should be a place to build the walkways and the greenways and the bikeways and the scooterways and the things for not just young people but also other people that are trying to get from point A to point B safely, not in the traffic and not being run over by people that are texting. I think it would be much safer, and I think it would be a great destination for the city of Boynton Beach, and I refer Commissioner Merker to the minutes of the meeting he was referring to earlier. Thank you.
Hello, Commission. I'm back, and it's great to see you. And I want to thank Commissioner Fitzpatrick for coming to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. My name is Betty Rowe, 637 Oak Street. I'm the chair of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I also would like to thank Mr. Merker, who also attended and gave us his opinion, as well as Mr. Fitzpatrick. So we got to hear both sides of the story. I've been on the board for 17 years now as a member. And I was here in the beginning of when we talked about the greenways, the blueways, and our walkways through the city of Boynton. I was very excited. That's why I'm still on the board. That was in 2004 when we started that project. Some of the land, that is correct, is not used at this time. But again, as some of the people that are on the board, we are in favor of the purchase. This may not be something that happens today, but we are looking for the future of Boynton, and I think that it would be an excellent, as well as the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board thinks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Arlene Malik. I live at 3910 Lake Drive Extension, Boynton Beach. I live directly across from the Grimes plant on the property that we're talking about this evening. My home has been our family home, and we've been residents of Boynton Beach for well over 12 years. I live directly across from the Grimes plant. I am opposed to the park. My home was purchased with the idea that luxury homes would be developed, increasing home values, tax benefits to the city, and preservation of the historic and existing areas, including our beautiful Lake Ida. It is my understanding, after living here for 12 years, the effects of the park would be disastrous to the residing residents. Increased crime to the neighborhood. I've witnessed people loitering, sleeping in their cars, littering, trespassing, kids walking around with BB guns and rifles shooting at the wildlife, car racing. My mailbox has been stolen and vandalized 3 times, my shed broken into. I can't imagine what would happen with a bike path and trailways open. 24 hours of no security, increased traffic, a sanctuary for the homeless, sex offenders, and drug criminals. Who would be safe? Polluting lake and land, harming wildlife. Every weekend, the lake is filled to capacity with boaters, wave runners, water skiers. There are days I'm afraid to use my kayak. My beach is filled with bottles, cans, paper wrappers, debris of all sorts. The lake needs to be protected. Added docks and fast food's an invitation to crime. I beg of you to vote no. No park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Time and consideration. I'm not going to do this to you guys this evening. It's been a long night as it is. My name is Krista Malik. My family home is 3910 Lake Drive Extension in Boynton Beach. I've been a resident of Boynton Beach, which I swore I never would. I'm a Delray girl, but I am now a Boynton girl for the past 13 years. And my family home was purchased in the hopes, and like my mother said, eventually there was to be luxury homes or whatnot, but I enjoy it for the space that it is right now, and it doesn't get much greener. I keep hearing everybody referring to it as a green space, and it really doesn't get much greener. And I recently suffered a life-changing, come to find out I had a birth defect, long story short, had to have a pacemaker defibrillator put in at 42 4 months ago, and I'm trying to recuperate at my family home, and this is just adding on stress. I'm really, really opposed to the park and to what it's going to do to the neighborhood. Thank you very much for your time and consideration, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you.
Scott Rocchio, citizen, resident, City of Boynton Beach, 3719 Diane Drive. I'm very close to this property that's in question tonight. But tonight has brought to my attention the needs of our parks right now, the maintenance that they're in need of right now. I don't understand why we'd be trying to purchase more maintenance problems. I'm just dumbfounded by the whole thing. We seem like we've become park hoarders. How many parks do we need in this city, gentlemen and ladies? I have no idea what it costs to maintain a park, but I know it's a lot of money. I don't know what else to say. We have a developer that wants to develop this land. We will receive revenues from the minute he puts a building permit in and for the rest of the life of the development. The houses will pay taxes, revenue for the city to pay for the parks that we have now. Thank you for your time tonight. Have a good day.
Eric Peterson, 3735 South Lake Drive, Boynton Beach, Florida. I've lived there approximately 17 years. I live with my wife, and I've raised 3 children there. And my house is basically right at the entrance to what will be the north entrance. From my understanding, there's 2 entrances. You get in from the north side, our entrance, or the south side of the park. And I look out, I see my pool in my backyard. There's a small canal, a bridge, and then the entrance over there. So I feel like I have a lot to gain or lose by what happens here. Let's face it, parks are put up to draw people in to use them. And by definition, that means probably a lot of strangers coming and going through my neighborhood to get to that entrance right out my back door. I think if you ask anybody up there, or even if you're for the park out there and you ask them the question, do you want more strangers coming and going through your neighborhood? They're going to say no if they're honest with you. And that's the way we feel. Look, with increased amount of people, especially people who don't have a vested interest, don't own property there, don't live there, much more likely to litter. I get people who park at the beginning of the B Aerospace property. They walk to the bridge right there, fish off that bridge in my backyard. And all the time, beer cans, beer bottles, you name it there that I'm always cleaning up. We're just going to see a lot more of that. I think with more people, you have my car's been broken into twice since I've lived there. We've had our house vandalized once, and overall, I think it's a pretty safe neighborhood, but more people coming and going. I've seen people park outside who got done fishing, and I look over, I see the car stopped in front of my driveway. I go around the corner as I'm working in the backyard, and all of a sudden they drive off like they're looking in my garage or something. Just don't need it. Another thing, Diane Drive, they do have a sidewalk. South Lake Drive, which would be the two streets they come down to get in that north entrance, has no sidewalk. There's no dedicated bike lanes, anything like that. Diane Drive has a lot of where you have to pull in and then back straight out, and cars park in the street as well. For the city to sanction a walking, driving, bike riding park and have the access to that spells a lot of liability. Let me just add a couple of other quick things.
Real quick, yeah.
The costs. We heard nothing about the liability insurance and what that's going to cost every year. The park is not set up, or the entrances to the park through our neighborhood doesn't lay out well for people riding their bikes and walking up and down there. We've heard nothing about cleanup. I know you're got a big group that's going to volunteer to set this thing up over the few years we heard in the last meeting. What if that doesn't come through? I mean, then do we have a contingency in the budget to cover that? I've heard nothing about that. And just one last thing. I was supposed to get 3 minutes, and that was set at 2. Somebody mentioned not in my backyard, a fellow who lived in Delray. It wasn't in his backyard, and of course he was for it at the last meeting, and the few people usually we hear that are for it don't live in our neighborhood. There's a reason that saying exists, the old NIMBY thing. That's because the people in our neighborhood are the ones who are going to have to deal with the effects of that park every single day. People who visit it once a year, never at all. Hey, it's a feel-good thing. Let's throw some money at a park. We're the ones who have to deal with any perhaps increased crime, perhaps litter, more traffic, backing out of your driveway, the liability of hitting somebody, all that kind of stuff. So obviously I'm against it. My wife's against it, and my 3 children are against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Howard Williams, 230 Northeast 16th Avenue, Boynton Beach. Let me get to the chase. Like the people in the community say about the park, they don't need it. My opinion, it's useless. We don't need it. We have other parks that need improvement. Improving those parks for the future that will bring more people to come to Boynton Beach and enjoy it. And one day we could be called one of the best cities in the United States. Because right now, I have Eastside Health Center, for example, needs major improvements. We have other parks around the community that needs major improvements. Please use the funds, other than buying other land, to improve our parks. Because at the end of the day, it starts in the parks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Craig Sartori. I reside at 145 Southeast 28th Court. I would like to thank the mayor, the city commissioners, and the citizens of Boynton Beach for being here today. I have lived in this area for 25 years. I've been a homeowner in the city for 12 years. I believe the county made a mistake in not developing the park as a park, as it was intended for that land. The mistake can be positive for the city at this point, now that the county has not developed it, and that we can develop a greenway. I think the land would be good even if it was held undeveloped. The detractors of the land purchase seem primarily to consist of the residents of Diane Drive, whose homes were built, I would like to say, parallel to I-95. To the north of there's a canine SWAT facility, and to the south, there's an airline manufacturer. I think those homes were built later for that very reason, that they were not in the most desirable location at that time. Subsequently, a wall has been built to 95. The irony of this, I believe, is that the residents of Diane Drive are going to be among the biggest beneficiaries of this greenway and area park. It would provide a place for their children and for themselves to ride and bike safely. My neighborhood is adjacent to a park, so I can speak to it. I live adjacent to the Seacrest Scrub Park, and the residents of that area really enjoy the park. I see my local neighbors at the park. I've not seen the issues that Diane Drive people are reporting, that there's going to be litter or vagrancy. I would hate to see my park gone now. So I would suspect at some point in the future, if this park is developed, the residents there would never allow it to be developed in the future. They would see it as their park. And there is a park on the other side of Lake Ida currently that's county park, and I've never heard any complaints from the people in Chapel Hill that that park affects their standard of living. I am obviously in support of the park. I would like to thank you all, and please consider it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kay Gates, 9693 Eau Claire Ranch Road, Boynton Beach. Thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to talk to you about a vision, and I'd also like to share with you my experience and a story about a greenway, and that the purchase of this land is envisioned to be part of a future greenway. That my experience happened in Sonoma, California. I had the opportunity to walk from a new subdivision of $500,000 homes into the city of downtown Sonoma. We were able to walk there instead of taking a half-an-hour drive to get there through congested, busy streets, because there was a greenway. The greenway was exactly adjacent to the property owned by my son-in-law's mother. My son-in-law, this was a very pleasant walk. The parkway actually goes right behind her house. There is a fence that separates her property and her neighbors' properties from the greenway. We only walked around 2 houses to an access place to access into the park, into the greenway, and then had a beautiful walk through shaded area to get to some place, and we didn't have to drive or take a car. There was space there for bikers and walkers. It was very pleasant. After I had this walk back at my son-in-law's mother's house, she proceeded to explain to me how, after she bought her property there, that the talk of this greenway going in, and how upset all the neighbors were, and how sure they were that it was going to ruin their property, and how she didn't want it there, and she agreed with everybody it shouldn't be there. And then she told me that her realtor has told her, since the greenway has opened, that the valuation of her property has gone up $100,000. I'd like you, this isn't California, it's Boynton Beach, Florida, but I'd like you to consider the greater vision and an opportunity that you have, and see something greater that could be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Nathan Siebert from 402 Southwest 8th. I was just wanting to, I've grown up here in South Florida in Delray Beach and Boynton, and I think about the early commissioners that must have looked at Delray Beach and held out that for their early public beach so close. I imagine that all of the neighbors that were close to that community would have wanted to have that also closed over in Delray Beach. I mean, just think of our neighbors right over here in Ocean Ridge, and how sacred they hold on to their public beach. They monopolize it. We can't use it. So thank God for the early planners in Delray Beach had the foresight to execute on a plan that would pay dividends into the future by preserving the public land of their beach, and that would preserve that finite resource for future uses, creating the legacy that is now a vibrant beach that everyone can access, not just a few private landowners, creating an incredible business anchor and very much to the long-term benefit and growth of the surrounding areas. Lake Ida. Delray has access to Lake Ida. Delray has 2 beautiful parks by Lake Ida. Boynton Beach does not. While while I've heard mention that it would be chalked with vagrant activity, I frequent the Lake Ada Park areas, and I very rarely see vagrant activity or anything that would be unmanageable. Once this land opportunity is gone, it is highly unlikely that Boynton will ever get this opportunity again. Mike Fitzpatrick has spent hundreds of hours patiently spelled out long-term vision for a green pathway with enthusiasm and a clear vision, seemingly rare at government. While Mike has not clearly stopped before, why was Mike not stopped before this decision came to a head? Why was it not suggested, or why was there not some collective or collaborative effort made? The resistance without any alternative or constructive options to a plan that has been fought for, documented in city meetings and planning for years only demonstrates to the public the continued malfunction, miscommunication, and lack of unity. Other Boynton districts get cooperations and subsequent funding for many planned improvement initiatives. I'm just saying, why is it so difficult to organize and collaborate inclusive to the interest of everyone in all districts? Developers versus long-term interest. Just recently, the residents of High Ridge, historically zoned to larger home sites and less congestion, they recently made an impassioned plea, which was voted down by this commission, in favor of higher occupancy apartment development plan that will surely have a negative impact on their way of life.
Need to wind up.
Okay. Similar to the plea that is being made by the citizens, yet I'm in favor of making greener spaces and greener places for our children in the future. Thank you.
David Katz, 67 Midwood Lane, our fair city. Admittedly, I do not live in the neighborhood. I'm going to try to cut through some of the emotional stuff. A majority of this commission at budget time, just like the city manager said, appropriated $100,000 if Mr. Fitzpatrick could get the job done. Essentially, he did. He climbed an insurmountable mountain to get it done at the county level, put in a lot of hours. And I don't think anybody should discount his energies when it comes to getting volunteers to help him do something. That Kids Kingdom Park across the street, and I'm sure he had something to do when we acquired the Seacrest Scrub many years ago. The one thing that disturbs me is that it keeps being referred to as a park. I think it should be more referred to as a preserve, because it's not going to have playground equipment. It's not going to have swings and parking spaces and bathrooms. It's going to be a scrub area. And he's going to get those volunteers to come in there, probably by boat, to take out the bad stuff and gradually put in the good stuff, the native stuff. There's one emotional issue that really disturbed me. There was a gentleman who lives in that area along Diane Drive. I think he owns the Big Point lot. His name is, I think I might be mispronouncing, Mr. Crisoli or Crisuli. And he said that he didn't want a bad element coming down there. Mr. Whiteley, Mr. Williams, Reverend Wright, former Mayor Hay, he wasn't talking about somebody who looks like me. He was talking about somebody who looks like you. And that disturbs me. And that wasn't right. Thank you.
That's an absurd statement. It's typical of your comments. That is one of the most insulting statements one can make.
That's not good. Quiet.
Good evening. Go ahead. Good evening.
I want to wait till...
Please hold your conversation.
Herb Suss, 1711 Woodfern. I know Fitz. I trust Fitzpatrick, Commissioner. MVP, along with the Commissioner from District 4, 2 MVPs. See that? However, let's get serious. The Greenway is a dream. I trust Fitzpatrick. He's a member of the Sierra Club, so am I. And the Greenway, if we pass this by, it's gone forever. We've got the money, everything was thought out, and as the previous speaker said, Fitz will find a way to clean it up, get it done, and it's gone, it's gone. We have a golden opportunity for a green space to connect, and as other speaker, it's a preserve. I think as the previous speaker says, it's a preserve. And We have a golden opportunity. Let's not pass this by. Everything's been set in motion. I know Commissioner Fitzpatrick has put many hours in. In previous commission meetings, I have spoken up for it. I speak up for it tonight. And there's a particular commissioner that's got blinkers on and should possibly start thinking outside the box. And the Greenway is the way to go. Thank you very, very much.
Good evening, Juan Mochi. I live in 2833 Southwest 4th Street, it's Chapel Hill. I actually walk around that area once, twice a week. It's a very nice area to walk by, and I really would love it for it to not to be disturbed. But I think that the park is a wonderful opportunity for the city, and I love the fact that it's a long-term project, that it's going to give the government an opportunity to follow up and make it go better. And I trust the city commissioners to do the best for the city, and we have to agree that this is a matter of the entire city. It's not just a matter of a neighborhood. And although I hope that the neighborhood doesn't suffer and it gets actually better off after this project is executed. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Barbalaco. I live at 3508 Diana Drive in Boynton Beach, Florida. I'm a resident of Boynton Beach since 1989. I live in the same house. So I please beg you, if you will, we would love for you to protect our neighborhood. There is not much more that we can say. It's very clear. We do not want this park. We don't need this park. We think you should focus on what we have it to keep them clean and safe. And please take it into consideration tonight when you decide, think about what you're doing, how many people you're going to be, affected by your decision. Vote no for this purchase of this land, vote no for the park. We already have a lot of parks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Commission, my name is Taylor Levy. I'm at 1810 Lake Drive. My question is, has anyone done a feasibility study on the 20-plus homes that are projected to go up there and what the impact they're going to have on the lake? You have 2+ water devices on multi-million-dollar homes. That's 40-plus boats and jet skis every single day on these lakes. What are they going to do to the shores? Does anyone know that? Okay. People are arguing that parks shouldn't be in residential neighborhoods. That's exactly where they should be, where people can enjoy them, where they can go out and they can have open air spaces and have fun with their family and friends. I also heard that we're missing out on $500,000 in tax revenue. For an additional 5 to 10 homes that can go in that 4-acre parcel, that's $50,000 to $100,000 per home. I'd love to see these plans. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know where these numbers are coming from, but I think that some people are saying that strangers are coming to their backyard. I say Boynton Beach residents and friends that are coming to the community to enjoy this green space. This is an unbelievable opportunity to connect the waterways and give back to the residents and citizens of Boynton Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've had a lot of input. We'll close the public input and come back to the board. Commissioner McRae, would you like to join in?
Thank you, sir. It was stated in the newspaper that I voted for this study in the year of 2004. I did vote for the study, but I voted for a lot of studies when I was sitting up here that is still sitting on the shelves and nobody's doing anything with. For the record, I'm going to say it loud, for the record, I do not trade votes. I vote for the betterment of the entire city, although I was elected to represent District 2. My concern is for all citizens, as well as the upkeep of what we already have. We are in dire need, I'm going to say it again, we are in dire need of work at the Ezel Hester Center. Our parks are a great need of repair. Although Mr. Majors was up here talking and our city manager said it's unfair, but it's unfair for him to answer one commissioner and not answer the other and gave us a set of false numbers. I'm sorry. What's going to be done for one should be done for each and every one of us that sit up here. This is one time I'm going to go against and say that should have let him spoke. If he spoke for one, he should have spoke for all of us. I'm just saying, the way I stated in the newspaper that I was going to vote, my vote has not changed. That's the way I'll be voting tonight. Thank you.
So, no matter to me.
It's a very emotional subject here, I get. What amazes me, and I've lived in a few neighborhoods, is that we're talking about a passive park here. And the crime, the litter, the vagrants that is going to come to this passive park. But yet we have a vacant factory that's been sitting over there for years and no one's talked about it. It just amazes me how factory, passive park, crime, littering, vagrants, nothing about the vacant factory, which is kind of amazing in itself. I can tell you this. We, at one point, as a commission, the majority of us, gave direction to one of our commissioners. And that direction was, if he could do it, to negotiate a price for this parcel of land that up to $100,000, we gave him that direction to go ahead and do it. I can tell you, I was at the county commission meeting with Commissioner Fitzpatrick. He got up there and he spoke very passionately. Myself got up there and spoke passionately about this parcel of land. I can tell you that those county commissioners are looking at us right now because they went against their own staff recommendation to not do this. But yet, with Fitzpatrick's presentation, he convinced them. And now I can tell you they're looking at us right now on how this vote's going to go down. I can tell you one thing, and I can only speak for myself. When I give my word to an individual to go forward with a plan, I stand by that. Because if we don't have our word and our loyalty to our word, then what do we have as elected officials? So tonight, I am going to vote in favor of this park because of all the reasons I just stated. We gave direction, he did it, it was approved. Thank you.
Should the city pay $100,000 for the county for 4.85 acres of Lake Ida lakefront? That question was asked, debated, and answered affirmatively January 21, 2014, when the commission passed 4-1 a resolution numbered 1422, which requested the county to sell us the property. This resolution was reaffirmed on September 3, 2014, when Commissioner McCray said the property should be obtained for future growth, and he seconded Vice Mayor Casello's motion to reserve money from the Park Impact Fee Fund for this purchase in the 2014-15 city budget. This again passed 4-1. The second reading of the 2014-15 city budget 2 weeks later was placed on the consent agenda, and it passed 5-0. So eventually, everybody up here voted for a budget with $100,000 in there for 4.85 acres of lakefront. Tonight's vote was on the consent agenda because it's only supposed to be a vote on 3 minor changes to the conveyance document from the county. But since it's been pulled, some other points to consider. I agree other parks are being neglected in Boynton Beach. We are just coming out of the Great Recession. Typically, city park budgets are the first to be cut and the last to be restored in economic downturns. The reason to purchase this property before bringing other parks back to 100% use is because next year, those properties will still be there for citizens of Boynton Beach. They are protected. But the Lake Ida property, it will be gone forever. Commissioner McCray was correct when he stated this land should be obtained for future growth. This is a now or never situation. Now, one statement has been made that is the $100,000 developer impact fee money can be spent on better projects.
Another statement was the Greenway Bikeway Plan is a concept plan, and each potential inclusion into the plan should be on an individual basis. I have no problem with either statement in principle. Bring forth these other projects and let us compare value and benefit for the Boynton Beach residents. The benefits of the Lake Ida project are: 1, future access for Boynton Beach residents to a 189-acre county-owned and maintained park, which also has restrooms and a dog park. 2, future safe access to the Delray Tri-Rail Station and Boca El Rio Trail. 3, increase the tax base of Boynton Beach by boosting the value of the future homes on the property to the north by 4% to 20%. Also increase value to all homes in a half-mile radius, including Diane Drive. 4, a great deal for city taxpayers. I am estimating the total cost of improvements to be $2.9 million. Of this, only $66,000 spread out over several years will be paid by Boynton Beach taxpayers. Over $2.8 million, 97.7%, will be paid by other entities. What other potential park project, Greenway project, has that ratio of cost benefit? If this purchase is judged to be not Greenway worthy, then the bar is set so high that no Greenway project will ever be approved. Now, I'd just like to go over a couple things. In your backup, I had an estimated cost of $1.8 million, but I received information since that was due on Thursday, and I'll pass down a packet after this. The first is from on Friday at 1:50 p.m. from Lisa District, professional engineer, SIS, whatever that is, and concept development coordinator, Florida Department of Transportation, District 4. Commissioner Fitzpatrick, or according to our design project manager, the construction cost for El Rio Trail work was approximately $1.5 million. The work involved realignment of the existing trail and tunneling, quote unquote, underneath the CSX Railroad and underneath Yamata Road. I hope this information is helpful. So that is $1.5 million in gas taxes, which is being spent in Boca, and some of it comes from citizens in Boynton. And then today at 1:30 p.m., 1:31, from Kim Delaney, Senior Planner, Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. From a North Carolina study of greenways, multiple studies indicate that property values for homes and businesses near trails are greater, with increasing ranging from between 4% and 20% when compared to properties not along trails. This is not surprising in light of the outcome of a recent survey by National Association of Retailers that cited walking and biking trails as the #1 amenity desired by home buyers. Now, so out of that $2.8 million, $2 million would be gas tax money, and that would come over a period of time. And then a lot of it, and then $100,000 from the developer impact fee, and then the county gift of $400,000. And then there's a couple $100,000 which come from the developer of the land to the north, because he wants to build those houses with docks. And to do that, they has to get city permission. So there's very easily trade-off on concessions. So what leaves for Boynton would have to pay out of all the possible improvements would be an open roof gazebo, a kayak launching beach sidewalk, an informational kiosk, I-95 sign facing, a welcome sign facing I-95, and the cost of some native plants. So that's only about $66,000, like 2.3% of the overall possible cost. And some of these big items, if the FDOT and MPO doesn't come through, they just don't get built. It's still a good project. Now, everybody knows that Boca knows property values. So would Boca ever do anything to hurt its property values? Well, this is the 2012 bicycle map for Boca Raton, put out by Boca Raton. And as you can see, maybe not, but all these black lines are trails through virtually every community in Boca Raton. Are they hurting property?
No.
They are property, there are trails in every community in Boca Raton. So how is that hurting property values? So I'll pass these packets down to the rest of the commission.
Is that it?
That's it.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Excuse me. I do need to speak now for clarification. Since my name has been tossed around saying that I changed my mind, I think some of the commissioners failed to realize that I was on the prevailing side. Anytime you are on the prevailing side, you can change your mind. Just like Vice Mayor Casella was on for a project tonight. He was on the prevailing side, and he said that he would like to offer a motion that it be brought up again. So I'm just saying, do not try to paint me as the bad person up here. I was on the prevailing side. I was also on the prevailing side when they did the study. I changed my mind. Let the record state that.
Okay, I will throw my things in here, and I've had so many thoughts about this, whether to be going forward or against it or whatever. I want to tell you what's gone through my mind. First of all, I want to make clear that it has always been presented, as far as I was concerned, as a conceptual plan. And we were supposed to gather facts. It was conceptual whether we'd move forward or not. We'd gather facts, and then when we get all of it in front of us, then we would decide how we would do this. Even I even agreed to let Mr. Fitzpatrick go to the county and see where they were coming from on it. I was open to that. As far as I was still part of gathering the facts. He did that. And I have to say that I got to commend Commissioner Fitzpatrick. He's personally an ecological positive thing that's big. I know that's a very personal big thing, and that's a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. I believe in green space too. I think whenever you can do it, you should. But I do know, and these are the things that are going through my mind. We have 28 parks, at least 28 parks in Boynton Beach, maybe a couple more. In the parks fund we're talking about, where the money's coming from to maintain and buy this parkland, right now we currently have around about $585,000 in that fund. Of that, about $250,000 to $300,000 is already encumbered. That leaves us about $250,000 that we're working with. As I've sat up here over the years, I've had the people who live in Meadow Park and the Econ Park up in Quantum, which are both in the Vice Mayor's area. I've had to look them in the eye because I've told we don't have money. We can't do even a passive park in Meadows and Econ Park. We don't have money to even get started on how we're going to do that. I've had to tell them residents, I don't know how many times, there's just no money there. We also have Sarah Sims Park that needs a lot more work. We're saying we can't afford to do it all right now. We have Hester Center fields. The fields, I think some of that money that's encumbered is hopefully to replace the fields, but there's other work that needs to be done at Hester. We have Girl Scout Park that's been here ever since I came to Boynton Beach. It's a beautiful area. Boy, why don't we start a greenway there? I'd be right on top of pushing that big time if that was brought before us, because it's there. It's been sitting there, been asking for something to do it. There it sits. We own that. Why don't we pour some money in there and fix it? The Girl Scout Park, yeah, that's the one. Barrier-free park. The barrier-free park, which we just opened the exercise thing. There's a lot more that needs to go into that park, and it's going to require a lot more money. If we took all that money that we have right now, we couldn't complete Barrier-free Park. That's how much we need to do there, and that's a great park that's open to people with all kinds of abilities or disabilities. Wilson Center, there's work that could be done over there. When we talk about green space, we need green space more. We have a natural scrub, acres of natural scrub on South Seacrest. I go by there almost daily. I'm lucky if I ever see a car parked there, whoever's going through there. We have natural scrub area to the north on Seacrest, same thing, big natural scrub area. We have a park behind St. Mark's Church where you walk out through the mangroves and stuff with a bridge, and very beautiful to go down. You almost think you're in the Keys, but that has to be maintained. That's very expensive, and I think I want to say that we might need to do that walk. But in other words, we have a lot of parks that need upkeep. The other thing I think about goes through my mind, we have all these parks in Boynton, but I've lived here. If you go out in the park, you might be able to spend a half an hour before you have to get out of the sun. You're going to get burnt. I know I burn pretty easy. Maybe some of you don't. My wife tans, I burn. But But what if we could shade some of those parks? We have all these parks with no shade, so you can't really enjoy them thoroughly. But we could. I'd be 100% if you know the ecology thing, the green thing. Let's go ahead and spend some money on what we have. The other thing I thought of in my mind, and just me thinking, if I had 5 or 6 broken cars sitting in my possession, and I couldn't make them run because I couldn't afford to fix them. I can't afford to fix them. But guess what? There's a guy down the street has another car that doesn't run. I think I'll go buy that one. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. Why would I buy another one that I can't use when I already got ones I can't maintain? So we got a lot of parks here that we need to put attention to. So that came to my mind. The other thing is it keeps talking about this greenway, and I hear you talk about it, but I don't see the access. There is no access out of that park over to the park over there in Delray. It's water, and I know you think you're going to build a bridge or whatever, something there. That's way out of my thinking. There's no access in there right now. There's private property between how you get into that, so that's an expense. How you ever going to get in? If you're going to get in there, if I own that part and you want to get by there, you're going to pay me big time. So I don't see it. I think you want a greenway, start with Girl Scout Park. Let's go north. Let's build it across there. I'm right there. We already own it. Let's go ahead and put that money into it. So with all this, I'm thinking, well, you know, maybe we just made it somebody call it preserve and just left it like that. You know, can we do that? That's still, I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. It's a dead end to me. I've driven down there, and I was there when you could get through there. I'm sorry. Sit down. You had your time. So anyway, I've looked at it both ways. I was saying, how can I support this? How can I get in there and make this happen? There's some positive things that people saying, oh, buy it when you can, and all that. Well, I'm after thinking it all and putting it all together, I have come up with I can't support buying this piece.
Move to vote.
Well, there's a motion. We'll go back. This is Mr. Fitzpatrick.
All right, I'd like to read another email from Yaron, who is the director of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and he wrote me and asked, what's Commissioner, see below, any status update on the city's intentions. So this is what I wrote back to him. I have discussed the conveyance with Jim Cheroff, the city attorney, and he's made 2 changes. Increasing the time limit to get full access for an owner to the north from 5 to 10 years. Adding a provision that the city wants to flip the property. The county gets first refusal for $100,000, and if it declines, the county gets any sales money over $100,000 returned to the county. This is a provision I promised several county commissioners. Our third change in the works to convey the conveyance is substituting for neighborhood park a term such as greenway, blueway. The city has specific definitions for different open space uses. This probably should be added as an addendum. Over time, with the changing of county staff, I am optimistic a bike pedestrian bridge across the L30 Canal to the County Lake Ida Park may be politically possible. Based on our few brief sidebar conversations about this, I am telling people the MPO is mainly orientated to improving transportation. And if there is a direct link from the bridge to the Delray Tri-Rail Station with bike and pedestrian sidewalks to the north funneling Chapel Hill and other Boynton residents to the bridge, this is the kind of small project with the MPO starting to fund. Secondly, I am saying, based on another conversation with you, Boca Raton got the underpass under the CSS Railroad and Yamata Road to connect the 2 sections of the El Rio Trail funded 100% by FDOT because it was piggyback on the overall $66 million interchange to park cars at FAU's empty stadium. Therefore, FDOT funding a similar underpass for I-95 to Lake Ida property is possible if we wait till they're doing major reconstruction in that area. That could take decades, but it is a funding source. Thanks for your update. And he writes back, great news and solid summary. I think all your points are right on. Thanks for the update. So if we don't buy this, then we are throwing away basically $2 million in gas tax money, which could be spent in Boynton Beach, which comes from Boynton Beach residents, and we're going to give it to Wellington or Jupiter or Boca, which has a better attitude so on how to enhance money. So basically, 97% of this development, to develop the park is going to not come from the citizens of Boynton Beach. I just don't, if that funding ratio isn't great, what is? How can you say that I'm for greenways, but I'm going to throw away that much money? How, you're giving away $2 million to Boca, and why? That I don't get it. And if somebody came forward with a loan of $100,000 to the city of Boynton Beach, would you vote for it then?
Go ahead. Are you through?
Would you
I'm
vote
not going to answer. I don't want to answer that right now.
Well, okay. Why not?
No, he's not finished.
I guess I am.
Finished? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
May I move for a vote? Can I get a second?
We have a motion. Well, we have a motion on the floor already.
Okay, let's
and
vote.
a second. And the motion was to approve acceptance of Lake Ida deed from Palm Beach County. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
No.
Nay.
Motion fails 3-2.
Roll call.
Please call the roll.
Mayor Taylor?
No.
Vice Mayor Casella?
Yes.
Commissioner Merker?
No.
Commissioner McRae?
No.
No.
Vote down for the vote of 2-3.
4-1.
4-1.
4-1.
4-1.
He wants to be able to bring it back.
The vote's there, so he can bring it back. Okay. Okay, that's it on that one. Going next on is item G. Please leave quietly so we can continue the meeting. Approve issuance of purchase order in the amount of $29,854.95 to Allied Aluminum and Railing for the purpose of repair and modification to fencing at Hester Center based on 3 written quotes. Vice Mayor, did you pull that?
Yeah, thank you. This is all obviously going to be a deficiency, and Mr. Merker brought up my financial genius, and I appreciate that. I thank you so much for that. And this right here, have funded out of the CIP fund $25,000 for a fence, and the fence is going to cost $29,854, which is approximately $7,800 more than what we have budgeted for. So we don't have the money for this fence, and I'm not in favor of that. I'm not in favor. It says further down in our backup material that we're going to take the money out of other accounts. So other accounts could suffer if we approve this. Is that correct?
Other projects that are coming in under budget. When you get to the end of the fiscal year, we will be completing the majority of the capital projects. There'll be a couple that we're going to limit or recommend deferral, but we'll be under budget.
But will there be
by the way, Jeff Livergood, Director of Public Works, I'm sorry.
will there be projects that also will not have enough funding in them to complete?
At this point, based upon the last review of the capital program last week, we have sufficient dollars available to do this work.
All right. So, in my opinion, I think we should put this on hold until we do actually have the money to complete this. Right now, we're saying we're going to operate this at a deficiency.
Well, the fence is in really disrepair right now. It's really bad. Right. We've had several people come up and complain.
Well, we have a lot of parks in disrepair too, but that's...
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
You go first.
Thank you. Okay, here we go, almost like what they call trading votes. Okay, this is at Hester.
I resent that, Commissioner. I resent that. No, I want that retracted.
Don't do it.
Let me go ahead and finish speaking. This is happening at Hester. Okay, and anytime something is going at Hester, and we already said that we was going to go out there and fix the fence, and this is what we're going to do now. And since it's going to be coming in a little over budgeted, now they're saying they don't want to do it. I represent Hester. I represent the citizens of Boynton, and I'm going to offer a motion that we approve this.
Second.
Motion second. Other discussion?
I don't know how we can fund something we don't have the money for.
Okay. We have any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Nay.
So the motion passes 3-2.
Tit for tat.
Go to item 7A, Approve award of the annual supply of sodium hydroxide liquid caustic soda to Brenning Mid-South Inc. of Orlando, Florida at the lowest, most responsive bidder, meeting all specifications, estimated annual expenditure of $165,000. This product will be ordered on an as-needed basis. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion is unanimous. Go to public hearings. Conduct these meetings in the dual capacity of local planning agency and city commission. First item is to approve a major site plan modification request to construct a 4-story, 24,000 square foot mixed-use building with medical use on the first 2 floors and 4 dwelling units on each of the next 2 floors and related site improvements. Applicant James Comprato, Comps Associates Group, Inc. The city attorney, do you need to swear anybody in or talk or thing?
I do, Mayor. These are quasi-judicial proceedings. Anybody who intends to testify, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do we need a motion before they come forward?
Jim?
No motion necessary.
No,
They could proceed, but I'll ask the applicant if they have any objection to combining the quasi-judicial on the 2 items.
I do not. My name is Bradley Miller, Miller Land Planning Consultants here representing Comps and Associate Groups on 9A and 9B, and actually prefer to do them together.
Okay.
We concur.
Do we need to read item B? City attorney?
Now, B is the approval of the master plan modification.
Okay. Yes, sir. Did you want to make any comments?
Bradley, why don't you go ahead and start?
I'll just be brief. I'm here on Comps and Associate Group's behalf for a modification to the master plan and a site plan for part of the SMU of Boynton Village and Town Center for a 4-story mixed-use building. Staff report and working with the staff has been great through this process. We're in agreement with the staff report and the conditions, and other than that, I guess I would leave it up if there's questions, and maybe I can go into more presentation if you want to see it.
I have a question. Mr. Carver, I talked to you, and I told you I'm in favor of this, and I am. Your involvement in this is nothing more than selling the land and putting the building up and turning the key over.
That is correct.
Correct. Now, the operator of this facility, is he here in the audience?
He is here this evening.
Could we have a few words with him? Is that
Certainly.
something?
Certainly. That's not a problem. Mr. Yaffe, would you come up?
Did he get sworn in? Did he raise his hand and get sworn in?
Well,
City attorney.
Come on up. We can swear you in.
You can walk and be sworn in at the same time and save us some time.
James, he's fired.
Put your hand up as you're walking.
He's fired.
Put your hand up as you're walking. We're going to swear you.
The testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Excuse me, I spoke with Mr. Comparata as well. Disclosure, thank you.
Oh, I think I did too. I don't know if I disclosed that. I met with you, didn't I? Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
I'm the only guy that remembers.
I remember. Not a memorable guy, I guess.
I understand you're going to be running this facility here. Can you just tell us a little something about you, about yourself, about your business, and how long you've been in business, and what kind of success? And
I'm running a treatment program in both Pompano, and we have a facility also in.
Excuse me. Do you need his name?
Sure.
Yeah,
My name is
name and address.
Sure. My name is Lee Yaffe, and I reside in Delray Beach.
Okay.
6075 Via Cristal. And I am, I'm the operator. So I've been in the business for probably over three years, running a substance abuse program, treatment program, and ancillary businesses that support it.
Okay. Are you registered or with the state or any type, or licensed? What type of license or registration do you need to run a kind of facility like this?
Clinical treatment programs are licensed through DCF, Department of Children and Families.
Okay.
So they're regulated. Healthcare clinics are regulated through the Agency of Healthcare Administration. So they are both licensed through the state.
Okay, very good. Now, on the first floor, there's going to be a medical, for medical use, people coming in, checkups and
Correct.
such. Right. On the second floor, there's going to be a secure treatment center.
Correct.
That means like lockdown and such?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, and on the two top floors, now, I see that it reduces the number from 1124 to 116, so I'm assuming you're going to have 8 residents on the two top floors?
There's 8 units on the 2 top floors.
Okay, and how many residents can those 8 units hold?
They're 3-bedroom units, so they would be able to hold somewhere between 25 to 30 people.
25 to 30 people, okay. Is the building going to be secured at night with a security guard, or how does that work?
Yeah, we would have, there would definitely be staff, it would be secured, there'd be cameras, it's a controlled environment.
Controlled environment. Okay, thank
Correct.
you.
Thank you. Any other questions here? Go ahead.
Sure. My understanding that this might be a model for future sober homes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
My understanding of addictive behavior is that once you start substance abuse, kind of your emotional development ceases. So if you start when you're 15 or 16, and when you're 30 you come clean, you're still emotionally a 15 or 16-year-old, and it takes several years to come up to par. And I'm guessing that something like that might be a reason for some of the behavior in sober homes. Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, it gets a little complicated. I think maybe we all are have some. I think everyone has addictive personalities. Some of the issues that these people deal with, substance abuse may be a secondary issue, but it's like anything. It's a lifelong fight, and they need to continue to work at it. And there's certain things they need to do to be successful.
Thank you. When it comes back to me, I got one more thing to say.
I think this idea of what Mr. Comparato, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name, is thinking about planning to do is a plan for the future, for not including the city only, but including the county, let alone the state. What you have here is helping people, which is the main thing. Second, what you have is, and I'll use the word security, of having physicians, having caregivers there for the people. So what you're doing is you're not scaring people where a sober home's in a residential area. You're putting it as a business in the sense of helping people. Maybe that's not the right word. But what you're doing is you have all the care that's needed for these people. The one thing that we often forget to do is to think, hopefully most of us are fortunate with who we are married to or are past with our families, brothers and sisters. But the one thing none of us can do is project what a child, a grandchild, or whomever else may face in their life. This is an advancement. It's not a fear. It should not be a fear of the neighborhood. It should be something where instead of questioning what could happen, it should be informed that what we're stopping and what we're doing. So I applaud you, Mr. Comparato, and I applaud you for your abilities to help people.
Could you?
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that there's a facility called the Watershed, which has been operating for about 10 years and has 132 units, and most people don't even know about it. So this is only like a smaller version of the Watershed, so I don't see how there'd be any problem.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
On item A?
Yes.
I have a motion and a second on item A. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion is unanimous. Item B, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Next item is proposed ordinance number 15003, first reading and public hearing. Approve amendments to the mobile vending unit regulations of the Land Development Regulations, Part 3, Chapter 1, Article 2, Chapter 2, Article 2, Chapter 3, Article 5, Table 2-1, applications by city departments, and Table 3-28, use matrix. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Nancy Byrne, Development Director. I have just one more thing to add to this item as you move it forward. The city has been approached by a local business owner, Hurricane Alley. Ms. Kelly has purchased a mobile vending unit, and she has approached me about the opportunity to park the vehicle on a daily basis, which is not something we've contemplated in this ordinance. So I wanted to ask the Commission's desire to move forward with adding a daily parking regulation ability on private sites, and to find out if you are amenable to allowing any public sites to be available for daily parking of a vehicle.
I'm referring to the backyard. They do their cooking out of a trailer. Is that something we'd be talking about?
No, that's a permanent cooking facility on the site. That doesn't move.
That's not a trailer?
Right. Under mobile vending, they would have to leave each evening, so they would come back to the site. They'd go back to the commissary, restock the truck, clean the truck, and then bring it back to the site the next day.
Okay.
It stays in the mobile vending category.
On this, so if you had this, where would they, like Hurricane, where would that be parked?
She had a couple of options that she was speaking with the CRA to keep it in the downtown corridor. She'd like to keep it in close proximity to the main restaurant. Some of the other thoughts that came up in discussion with her were potentially putting it somewhere here on the City Hall site or in a city park, like Oyer Park, doing almost a concession agreement with the city, which is one of the options I'd like to suggest to Commission, because if you do go for a daily parking, the models that we've looked at in Miami and in some of the other cities where they allow this, there's either a limited number of public sites, and they either have a lottery or a limited number of permits available for vendors to bid on to get to those sites, or we can do it through a concession agreement similar to what we do with recreation, where if it's one park that she's going to be parked at every day, or the vendor's going to be parked at every day, then it would be a concession agreement, and kind of we'd look at it through the site plan process to see how it affected the parking and impacted the site. But other than that, they would just pay a regular concession fee to the city to operate there.
If we allow this, in this case, to happen, what about the other vendors? Would they come forward and say, listen, was this something we have to put like an RFP out, or this would have to go out to bid?
There's a couple ways we can handle it, which is why I'm recommending to you, you either do a concession agreement, which would involve an RFP. We can do a limited number of permits, depending on how many sites you want to open it up to, and say there's only so many permits available, first come, first serve, or we can do a lottery, accept all the applications, and then just pick it, on a lottery style to say, these are the vendors that make the award. And yes, I do think that there will be a lot of vendors interested.
Exactly.
A lot, yes.
I like the lottery idea.
Commissioner McCray?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nancy, in regards to being on city property, explain the liability. Who's responsible?
We would make them go through a process similar to the special event process, where Risk would get all the required forms from them to hold the city not harmless against anything that would happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So, I
don't know if
Marker.
This sort of bothers me, scares me. You're saying that a person has a vendor truck, okay, and you're asking for it to be parked on the city for a certain fee with a certain permit. Am I correct?
I'm not asking for that. I've been asked to ask you for that.
Okay, touche. Okay. And I'll reverse it back to you. You don't see this. I know we said a lottery. I know we said whatever. You don't see this. I'm asking advice, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do this or should do this, but if this was put on someone else's property, I'd have a clearer head, because that person's receiving, that person's responsible. But the idea, once you put it on city property, aren't you opening a Pandora's box?
I wouldn't disagree with you. I'll put it that way. I think the easier route, if you want to do this as a trial period to see how much of a floodgate it opens up, is to let the private sector deal with it and see if they're amenable to doing this on a regular basis, if they can find the sites to park within.
Personally, I would like to table this to discuss it again, because I'd like to sit down with you. this is something is a question mark to me, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just don't think we should vote on something like this until we dot the I and cross the T.
The first reading, which is why I wanted to kind of get some initial feedback from you. It's a 2-reading ordinance, so that's kind of your direction. We can meet in between the 2 readings if you want to sit down and discuss what the ramifications of this would be and determine how you'd like to proceed from there.
The only thing, I'm sorry.
That'd be in addition to what we already have in front of us.
Exactly. You've already have some modifications in front of you, and I kind of jumped the gun there. I should have asked if you had any questions about what you already have in front of you, because we are opening up a couple of additional zoning districts. We're kind of moving the assembly, the rallies over to the special event process. So there's some other changes that we had already contemplated in the ordinance to begin with.
Yeah, I look at this, doing something like this is losing, I'll use this word, professionalism of what we have. It's almost like having a junkyard where what else is going to be piled up?
Mayor, if I could just jump in, because we're a little bit off track here.
Please
We
do.
haven't even read the title of the ordinance yet.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think it was Nancy's intent to derail first reading of the
No, it
ordinance.
was not.
But maybe it was. I'm not really clear on that. So maybe she could gather her thoughts on that while I read the ordinance.
Thank you.
And then you could decide whether you want to approve it on first reading, have her come back with amendments on second, or table it. Ordinance 15003, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, approving amendments to the mobile vending unit regulations of the Land Development Regulations, Chapter 1, Article 2, entitled Definitions, Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 7C, entitled Mobile Vendor Approval, Chapter 3, Article 5, Section 10, entitled Mobile Vendor Regulations, Table 2.1, Applications by City Departments, and Chapter 3, Article 4, Section 3, Table 3-28, Use Matrix, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this, but come back with amendments for our second reading.
Is there a second? For that?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner McCray,
No.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casello,
Yes.
Commissioner Merker.
Voting no, not that I'm totally against it or for it, but I want it on the record. I'm undecided, and I have to sit down with you, Nancy Byrne, to educate me.
Show the motion passes 3-2.
Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to legal. Proposed ordinance 15002, second reading. City Attorney.
Ordinance, excuse me, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, approving amendments to the Land Development Regulations, Chapter 1, Article 2, entitled Definitions, Chapter 3, Article 4, Section 3D, Use Matrix Notes, Chapter 3, Article 4, Section 3D, Table 328, Use Matrix, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
This proposed ordinance number 15002 on second reading. Is there a
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion
Mayor,
discussion?
if I may just point one thing out, maybe Mike was jumping up to do this as well. We've had a number of questions regarding the language in the proposed amendment, and we've had some requests for staff to meet with interested parties that would be or would represent individuals that are impacted by this amendment. I think, if I'm not mistaken, both the planning staff and legal would recommend that this be tabled on second reading so that we could bring back to you any comments, additional comments that may come in.
Okay, well, just before we table it, if it does get tabled, I just want to throw out there that I was at this Planning and Zoning Board when this was proposed by staff, and staff proposed that this ordinance be passed and be effective in C3 only areas, and the Planning and Zoning Board discussed it and decided they would like to add that also they would go into C2 and C1 areas. I personally would like to limit it only to C3 for a time being until we see how it works. We could always amend it and expand into C1 and C2, but at the beginning I'd like to have a test period where we only did it in C3. That would be my suggestion.
I think it's a good suggestion. As I'm looking at the map here, there's 26 areas that would allow these type of facilities to go in. I understand the need for these facilities, but I don't think we should look like the Vegas Strip here for casinos and for medical rehab centers here. I think that we designate an area, C3, that's fine. We reasonable accommodations, we accommodated them. We have an area for that, but I don't think we need it up and down Gateway and Congress to pull that off. I think that C3 would be more than sufficient to do it.
All right, and is there a motion to table? Or do you want to move on it?
Well,
they need some time to work on the language, I guess, before they bring it back a second reading.
We'll make a motion. We'll table it.
Okay.
And then we'll
for second reading.
That I have on the floor. I rescind the motion that I have on the floor.
Okay. I'm sorry. What was your motion?
I had a motion already on the floor, so I'm just saying to approve it. But I'm just saying since we're going to table it, I'll go ahead and rescind the motion.
You rescind that motion. Thank you. Okay, I have a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Show the motion unanimous.
Thank you. Ordinance 15004, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Part 3 Land Development and Regulations, Chapter 2, Article 5, Section 2B, Table 417, Residential and Lodging Uses, to decrease parking standards for hotels to more closely match actual demand, providing for conflict severability, inclusion, and an effective date.
Motion, ordinance 15004 on first reading. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second this, but I'd like to have discussion.
Discussion. Go ahead.
Question, please.
Let's go with Vice Mayor, then come to you.
Okay, would this be limited to hotels and motels?
Good evening, Ed Brace. Yes, it would be limited to hotels and motels.
Okay, so not a future residential development?
No, absolutely not. It is specific to hotels and motels.
Okay. Is there any project currently being reviewed that this proposal would be a benefit to?
The only one that I'm aware of that would be a benefit to is the one in Quantum Park. Basically, this ordinance would allow them to provide 6 fewer parking spaces, that much more green area, landscaping, pervious area.
Okay, thank you.
Please.
Go ahead.
Michael, does this apply to Leisureville, the Holiday Inn?
No, it wouldn't, because they were not proposing any 2-bedroom hotel rooms. They were all single bedroom, which falls under the current code.
Okay, so there's no reduction here. It's status
Correct.
quo.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mayor Taylor,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Casello,
Aye.
Commissioner Merker,
Yes.
Commissioner McCray,
Aye.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
The vote is 5-0.
Proposed ordinance 15005.
An ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development Regulations, Chapter 4, Article 4, Section 4C1B, to allow sign standards to be based on the commercial use within an M1 zoning district, and Chapter 4, Article 4, Section 7A, to increase flexibility for modifying a non-conforming sign in a shopping center to promote economic development and aesthetics, providing for conflict severability, codification, and an effective date.
Ordinance 15005 on first reading. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? Sir, did you want to address us, or just standing up? Okay. Okay. I understand. I got a cramp in my leg, too. Okay. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Casello,
Yes.
Commissioner Merker,
Yes.
Commissioner McCray,
Aye.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Aye.
The vote is 5-0.
Ordinance 15-006.
An ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development and Regulations, Chapter 1, Article 2, Definitions, Chapter 3, Article 3, Section 1, Overview, Chapter 3, Article 3, Section 5, Chapter 5, Article 3, Section 5, Chapter 5, Article 3, Section 8, Overlay Zones, and Chapter 4, Article 3, Section 6, to support the continued implementation of the downtown transit-oriented development overlay standards, including provisions for 25% density bonus for selected future land use classifications, providing for conflict severability codification and an effective date.
Is there a motion? Second?
I'll second it.
I'll second. Discussion?
Yeah, if I could ask. Would this be considered a high hazard area, a Category 5 storm?
Yes, the boundaries of the approved transit area would include all the coastal areas in that concentrated area in downtown.
Okay, we have a policy on the books, and if you'll just bear with me while I read it. The city shall not approve any increase in hotel, motel, and residential densities in the coastal high-hazard area that would increase evacuation times above the 16-hour level of service for out-of-county hurricane evacuation for a Category 5 storm. Do we do those kind of studies when we approve these high-density areas in the coastal?
Each project would be reviewed against that, yes, if it was pertinent.
So each project comes in with that information?
We'd be confirming with the state, with the county's emergency evacuation office for proper compliance with that standard.
So we have a written document that says, yes, they are in compliance?
Well, that would be done on a project-by-project basis, not at the planning stage like we're in right now.
Oh, okay, but so let's use Marina Village. When that was built, did we get that document?
I don't recall.
Did we get it when we built Costa Costa?
I don't recall what was reviewed. I'd have to look back at the file and the review comments
Okay,
to see if there was coordination.
My point is that if we have this policy on the books, then we should adhere to it. Just, I know we haven't had a hurricane in 10 years almost here. I think that we need to cover ourselves here.
We
to
should
make sure
follow
we
the
have
adopted policies we have in the comprehensive plan. Yes,
right,
sir.
and follow our policies. That's my point. So thank you.
Is that tied to the level of service on the road, Mike, when we talk of the evacuation, as far as what the density is going to bring in terms of traffic?
Not necessarily. It's tied more now, the way the policy is written, to the capacities of capacities of the, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here, on shelter space of Palm Beach County.
So it's more of a head count thing than it is people pouring out and getting on the street.
Timing, evacuation, and capacity.
If I just continue to read just a little bit here. This is the part that got me up a little interested here. The city has no in-house capability to estimate the impact of the development on evacuation times. So we can't even do it ourselves.
Right, that's why we coordinate closely with the county. In fact, that comment was one of the objections or comments made when the city was reviewing Casa del Mar. In fact, we did coordinate with the county office and discuss with them potential impact and compliance with that policy.
Okay. All right. As long as we're on it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Discussion, Fitzpatrick.
I have a question about Exhibit 2A, which is the Downtown Transit-Oriented Development District Future Land Use Map.
Yes.
I don't understand it, because it looks to me like it's what's future about it. It looks like those are the current zoning designations.
Well, no, those aren't zoning. Those are the land use classifications
that are currently in use.
Well, understand that. No, that's the comprehensive plan. We really have two maps: the zoning map and the future land use map that's adopted as part of the comprehensive plan. Yes, it may be deceiving when you think of future, but really the way the state of Florida has set up the comprehensive plans, and that's why in the original map series that we provided to the state when the big plan was adopted in '89, it had another map in the series called existing land uses. But don't be confused by that word. We do have other planning tools that we use for future planning purposes, but the future land use map essentially coincides with the zoning map, which in fact does represent what's on the map, on the books, or on the ground now.
So how do you tell what the city is proposing for the future by looking at this map?
Good question. We would base that upon really the redevelopment plans in the CRA as far as future plans and direction, vision.
So how come we don't have a map that shows the future redevelopment plans?
Well, we're in the process of that right now as part of the update of or the consolidated update of the CRA plans. We will have that.
So there will be a map that shows how we want the city to develop?
More specifically, well, yes, there will be details in those plans that are going to answer that question, but also as far as a mapping tool, we will show where the plan recommends the distribution of the 4 mixed-use districts that are used for redevelopment purposes.
Will it show like where now it shows low-density residential? Will it say this should be special high-density?
Mixed-use low 1, for example. Mixed-use low 1. Yes, that's just an example, hypothetically.
So it could change from low-density residential to special high density. So somebody could be owning a house there and they'll look at it and say, someday the city wants something more dense in this area?
Based on the findings of the redevelopment plan update, yes.
All right. How far out is that?
Well, according to the strategic plan, I think we'll be wrapping that up in late 2015.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Merker,
Yes.
Commissioner McCray,
Aye.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casella.
Yes.
The vote is 5-0.
Proposed ordinance 15007 on first reading.
An ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 1 of the city's Code of Ordinances entitled General Provisions by creating Section 112 to be entitled Civil Rights, providing for non-discrimination within the city and all other activities promoted or sponsored by the City of Boynton Beach, providing for codification, conflict, severability, and an effective date. And just a reminder that I did substitute a revised agenda cover sheet earlier this evening on this item.
Motion?
Second.
There's a motion, a second discussion. I'm going to tell you that I am going to be voting against this ordinance. This was asked for by the, let me see where I'm here, Human Rights Council, I guess, city. My problem with this is that I don't feel like we ought to be the policy police for the business community. We're asking them that we have passed, the city has their own civil rights non-discrimination ordinance that we go by, but to go out and police all other businesses, I don't really care if a company, if I got a busted sewer pipe and I need to go hire a company, I'm not going to go review their policy manual to see whether I can hire them or not. In fact, to do this, to say that every business that we hire has to be as the same way we are in the city, that they have to go by the same rules we have, that is discriminating. And we're talking about a discrimination policy. Here we're going to discriminate. If you don't go by the same thing that we believe in, then you don't have any chance here. That's hypocritical to me, and I don't intend to be a hypocrite, so I'll be voting against this. I don't think the city ought to be involved.
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead.
I call it equal rights. I call it, instead of same-sex, I say, what about race? What about religion? We have to set an example, and that's what we're doing here. We're saying all people are created equal and have the same rights and benefits. To me, there's no way, if you've ever been involved with any form of prejudice, that you can vote against this. This is for all people, and I will vote yes.
Any other discussion? We did have a motion in a second, right? Pardon?
Just, I think he's addressing the commission. I do have a comment, Mayor, when the commission's done.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that this was a point that was addressed in the revised agenda cover sheet, is that this ordinance is not compelling any business within the city to do anything hopefully, other than to recognize that there are federal, state, and county laws that prohibit discrimination. What it does do is that it puts the city in the group of cities that join in providing to its citizens a recognition of those fundamental rights under state, federal, and county law, and also reminds those citizens that they do have recourse through either the Equal Opportunity Relations Commission, the Florida Commission on Human Relations, or the Palm Beach County Office of Equal Opportunity if an individual citizen of the city believes their rights are violated.
Well, when I'm reading this, it says adopting this ordinance would require any entities doing business with the city of Boynton Beach to prove that they provide the same non-discrimination and domestic partnership provisions within their organizations. So you would have to check each organization to
That's
make
not
sure
correct, Mayor. That's the substitute agenda item that I passed out. We did change that because the ordinance does not compel businesses to do that. We certainly would hope in most cases when businesses enter into a contract with the city that usually those businesses derive some benefit from the city and that they would follow those regulations. But if you look at the revised agenda cover sheet, it does say adopting this ordinance will demonstrate that the city of Boynton Beach, as a matter of public policy, opposes all forms of discriminatory activity. Any reference to what any business must or must not do has been removed.
And
I guess I didn't get the cover sheet, so did anybody else get it?
It was passed down earlier this evening.
And I'd like to just say that
I have another copy.
Though you rephrased it, I feel it should be the way it was originally, because again,
I have another one.
everyone has the right to get a job, to work, to get the same benefits of anybody else. And if you don't see that, well, guess what? As one of our who left was bringing out the word prejudiced, that's what this is about, being prejudiced. So either way of phrasing is correct.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Commissioner McCray.
Aye.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
I'm going to vote yes to the new wording that was been presented.
Vice Mayor Casello.
Yes.
Commissioner Merker.
Yes.
The vote is 5-0.
Thank you. Ordinance 15008. An ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Article 3 of Chapter 18 of the Boynton Beach Code of Ordinances entitled Employees Pension Plan, amending Section 1855, the definition of annual earnings to clarify the exclusion of elements of pay per Florida Statute 112.66, subparagraph 11, amending Chapter 1882, reemployment to allow the purchase of prior city service on a full actuarial basis after 1 year of reemployment by the city, providing for codification, conflict severability, and an effective date.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? A motion and a second. Discussion?
Yes. Just a question to the city mayor, Madam Manager. This just puts us in compliance with what the state is requiring. Is that correct?
Yes, the interpretation, when the legislature capped or disallowed the accrual of vacation and sick from a certain date moving forward, it was interpreted differently in the general employees pension plan, and this corrects that to allow the prior accruals, just like fire and police, the prior accruals up to June of 13, I believe it is, to be allowed, then moving forward, like fire and police, sick and vacation cannot be included.
All right, so this is just a correction, puts us within the state's limits statutes.
It's not so much a correction because this is really what the commission did before. It's a clarification for the purposes of those who administer the pension plan, who, for whatever reason, were confused by what the commission approved previously. So,
any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casello.
Yes.
Commissioner Merker.
Yes.
Commissioner McCray.
Aye.
The vote is 5-0.
Any other business coming before the commission?
For future agenda items, there's one that we probably need to start thinking about, and that is the appointment of a vice mayor for the next year. I don't know when we're going to do it, but we need to put it on the agenda.
What did you say?
Appointment of the vice mayor for the coming year. We usually, each year we do an appointment of vice mayor, so we need to get that on the agenda. Hearing nothing else, we stand adjourned.
Thank you.